See Circle Calendar 1496. Goat Island, located in the first half of the Grand Line. In the future, Straw Hat Crew people will stay here for a few days. It is an island with rich mountains and forests. At this moment, a wild beast roars from the depths of the forest, which startled a large number of birds to fly into the sky. I saw a big tattooed tiger with a length of 7 or 8 meters, and ran out in a panic from the shaking mountain forest, splashing a large piece of soil with its teeth and claws, as if there was some predatory beast behind him, wailing and fleeing with its tail sandwiched between it. Run. The sun poured down through the lush branches, and a little golden figure suddenly appeared. He straddled a distance of 3 meters in the blink of an eye and kicked the tiger's ass out of thin air. Accompanied by the wailing, the tattooed tiger flew out, rolled up the dirt and grass scraps on the ground, rolled a few times like a ball, and then smashed under a giant tree. He leaned forward and quickly climbed up his teeth and grinned. It should have been a mighty and vicious face. At this moment, he lost his dignity as the king of the forest, and instead begged for mercy and grievance. You seem to have lost weight recently. The golden man approached, and Gaiakaios looked disgusted. Year after year, counting from the beginning of the journey, it has been 3 years since he came to this world. He was calm at the beginning of the journey. After all, every month in the global village, millions of predecessors get the pig's feet script, and thus embark on the road to becoming a god, slaying all enemies in the world, and finally sit on the throne that the world can only look up to. It can be called the road of a generation counterattack. Traveling through this stuff is a job, except for a little excitement and freshness at the beginning, but afterwards, it feels dull and boring. It was C Circle Calendar 1493 when he crossed over, a bit early. It wasn't long before Sakazuki and Paluzolino joined Marine that year. Doflamingo, who was born king that year, would kill his father. Boa Hancock, the world's #1 beauty, was just born that year. That is to say, Kuzan has not joined Marine yet, Gold D. Roger has not yet become the One Piece, Marine's current marshal is Kong Kong, and in the future 4 emperors and 7 warlords of the sea, some will only show their edge, some are still innocent and cute. Children. As for Monkey D. Luffy, who wants to be the man of One Piece, it may still be liquid. This era is the era of those legendary powerhouses in the future. Can be called a flurry of demons. As many people of choice, Chaos still has the most basic cheat benefits. It's just the kind of basic welfare cheat that has already been bad. First, automatically learn the language and characters of One Piece. Second, because of crossing, the talent, soul, body and so on get the second development. It can be seen as a genius from being mediocre. Then there is no more. Yes, Kaios didn't believe it at first, but 3 years have passed. Life has to go on. However, Chaos had a dreamy start, which can also be said to be lucky. At the beginning, I was holding my urine, and I found a place to solve it. I found a golden thing, with a weird pattern on it, that was familiar to me. At that time, Chaos's heartbeat slowed by a beat. He held the urine back abruptly, and picked it up without dismissing it as dirty. It smelled like urine. The golden devil fruit is Logia sparkling fruit. At the beginning, it was at its peak. He had never eaten shit, but as devil fruit fell, Chaos felt that he had taken the first step in his life, and shit was more delicious than this thing. Before long, his face turned green. This is not the sparkling fruit he wants. It's Paramecia golden fruit. The theater version of the Golden Emperor Guild Tezzolo's devil fruit is now cut off by him. But after the disappointment, Kaios was excited again. The dream of the last life can be realized in this life. One Piece and Marine King broke down. Isn't it popular to become the world's richest man? What can be solved with money? What is it? See who is not pleasing to the eye, offering tens of billions of rewards, and some people do things for him. This corrupt and disorderly world can be manipulated with money. Then Chaos calmed down after being excited. Taking into account the current situation and the fact that he is a weak force, he decided to go ahead for a few years. And this goal is 3 years. He stayed on this island for 3 years. Even if there were merchant ships or even pirates on the way, he did not intend to leave. Make up your mind to be strong enough to protect yourself before you go out. It's still a high-profile wave. Everyone takes the script of the protagonist. You have to speak arrogantly, and you have to be wild. Otherwise, how can you be worthy of the sky and the ground? Roar. The big tattooed tiger's eyes revealed human anger and suffocation, staring at the golden eyes and slowly backing away. Since meeting this human 3 years ago, its free days have gone forever. The standard of living was once reduced to poor households. Whether it was windy or rainy, The guy in front of him came to him unimpeded, and at first he chased him, but slowly didn't know what was going on. He was chased and ran away. Since then, its spirit is decadent, and its life has plummeted. The only comfort is that there are two guys with it. For example, a lion with a hot head in the mountain next door, and a crocodile with armor in the largest river. Once upon a time, the three of them carve up the entire mountain range and are well-deserved forest overlords. But now every day is in dire straits. Bite. Chaos stretched out his golden arm and leaned forward to the big tiger's mouth. Looking at the golden arm in front of him, the big tattooed tiger looked humiliated, opened his teeth and bit his mouth with bitterness. Use a little harder. Chaos was a bit dissatisfied. This guy didn't even leave a tooth mark. His bite force disappointed him, and he could have been injured before. Roar. Pulling out the strength of the breastfeeding, the big tattooed tiger wailed. It really wanted to kill this guy, but it was too hard. It's useless, but you are still the king of the forest. After a while, Chaos looked at his golden arm. There was not even a trace of marks on it, wiped the saliva on the brown yellow-black horizontal stripes, then turned over and jumped onto the tiger's neck and looked at his golden hands. Is it the hair or the eyes? The whole body is transformed into gold at this moment. During the past 3 years, he has been doing exercises such as running, push-ups, sit-ups and so on every day, and he has been inhuman for many years. In addition, his spiritual talent and physique have been improved due to his crossing. Now he has a little self-preservation. The golden fruit has also been developed to a certain extent. Not only the whole body can be turned into gold material, but also the body shape can be changed arbitrarily. With a thought, the whole arm wriggling quickly transformed into a golden sword. It can be said that Chaos can be transformed into 18 golden weapons. Just the little tiger under his ass, the big mouth of the blood basin can easily break the tree half a meter thick, and even the rock can break, but now it can't leave a tooth mark on Chaos. You can imagine how strong Chaos' defense is now. In addition, the presence of gold can be sensed within a certain range. In addition to the strengthening of the physique and the development of golden fruits, Chaos also had an unexpected joy in the past 3 years. That is one of the 6 types, shave. Just 3 months ago, he succeeded in practicing blind shave. Regarding the 6 forms, anyone who has seen One Piece knows. Shaving. Within an instant, 0.36 seconds, stepping on the ground at a high speed dozens of times produces explosive reaction force to move at a high speed, which seems to disappear from the enemy's eyes. This doesn't require any internal force, immortal energy, or vindictive energy to stimulate. As long as the physique is strong enough and the speed of the feet can reach this level, then the cultivation can be successful. There are no esoteric martial arts cheats, some just step 10 times in 0.36 seconds. At the beginning, he also practiced with a fluke attitude. There is also Iron Body, which is beaten. Moonwalk, Tempest Kick, and Paper Arts have not made much progress, and may not have met that requirement. Although Finger Pistol did not succeed in training, Chaos can leave finger pits in the tree when his hands are kept in gold. Compared to himself 3 years ago, Chaos now can hang thousands of them. But now these rewards have been exchanged for sweat and torture in the past 3 years. It was difficult to persist at the beginning, but slowly got used to it. Lying on his back on the back of the big tiger, Chaos kept his whole body golden, the duration of which depends on when his physical strength was exhausted. But the physical strength consumed every minute and every second is almost negligible. If you stay in the golden age and be beaten, the physical strength will be consumed faster. Roar. It didn't take long for the little tiger to carry Chaos to the other side of the mountain. On a piece of grass, there was a 7-8 meter long male lion with a scar on his face, making it look more fierce than the little tiger. This is the little lion who is one of the 3 bitches. The experience is similar to that of Xiaohu. Since meeting Chaos, the lions have been ups and downs. Now when I saw the Jin Cancan little golden man, his fierce and big face suddenly became stunned. Go and catch me 2 good elk. Chaos sat up and looked at the lion head pulling his face, his golden eyes picked up. Who is this guy holding his face for? Is it because you want the education of love? He is not even afraid of tattoos, and he is afraid of burning his head? As far as society is concerned, he is the master of the biological world. Flop. The huge lion head shook, and the little lion flicked his tail after a sneeze, exuding the temperament of a melancholy prince all over his body. Then the little tiger continued to move forward, and finally came to a large river, lying on the sandy shore of a 15-meter-long crocodile, exposed belly, basking in the sun and snoring. It's fine to open the blood basin, and the tongue is still drooling on the side. Look at that way and sleep soundly. It is the overlord of this river, and its biggest dream is to kill Chaos. Boom. Chaos appeared on the sand out of thin air, his right foot leaned back and kicked on the sharp-mouthed head, and accompanied by the brutal wailing, the 15-meter-long body slammed into the ground and rolled continuously. Turning over from the ground quickly, when he saw Chaos, his original anger disappeared. It's this damn guy again. 10 minutes later. In the dry land on the bank of the river, the little lion dragged 2 elk back reluctantly, and the little tiger also brought back a lot of dead wood from the forest. As for the small jaws emerging from the river, he was holding a few fat big fishes in his mouth. Everyone has a clear division of labor. Chaos, who was exercising his index finger upside down, stopped and started to make a fire. 1 person, 1 lion, 1 tiger, 1 crocodile surrounded the fire. Compared with the size of the liger alligator, although Chaos developed again in 3 years, it grew from 1.76 meters to 2 meters, but it was still not enough. What are you doing in a daze? Go and wash the skin and internal organs. Do you still need me to teach you? Chaos raised his eyebrows and his eyes were sharp. Roar. The 3 guys were angry and scared, and began to tidy up the big fish and elk. The sharp claws opened up the intestines with a light stroke, and took out the internal organs very skillfully, removed the deerskin or fish scales, then washed them in the river, and then pierced the branches in. The whole set of movements is clean and neat, and it makes people feel distressed skillfully. Chaos was sitting by the fire, watching the 3 big guys cleaning it awkwardly, without any guilt at all. Speaking of this, the world is strange. Some animals have a high IQ, and some even armament hockey, such as these 3 guys. In the past 2 or 3 years, he and these 3 guys got along very happily. At first, if these 3 guys weren't chasing him all over the mountain, his physique might not be strong now. It's a pity that except for the shaved, the other 6 types, even the armed color and the sighted color have not improved. Armed color and iron body, he remembered that he only had to be beaten, and the more he suffered, he might suddenly wake up. In the past 3 years, he has endured a lot of beatings, but unfortunately it was useless. But the resistance to fights and resilience have improved. This is very clear. I have also practiced seeing and hearing beauty. He blindfolded his eyes and turned into a little golden man to let the 3 guys sneak attack him. Dynamic response and these abilities have also been improved, but even if there is a layer of window paper, it is still a world of difference if it is not pierced. Do not. In the pirate world, armed sex and seeing and hearing sex are the most basic abilities, and you must have a master. It looks like we have to leave. Chaos looked at the fire in deep thought. He had dealt with animals for the past 3 years. Although he had encountered life-threatening situations, he had not fought with people at all. This will be a shortcoming. In other words, he lacks real combat. Only by fighting will you know your own shortcomings, and will make a person stronger quickly. It is not advisable to work behind closed doors. Now that I am more or less self-preserving, it is time to go out to see this magnificent era. Seeing that the 3 ligers were thinking, they did not bother. Instead, he put the elk and a few big fish on the fire, and from time to time he stretched out his big claws and flipped it. As the fragrance continued to pass, the ferocious fangs began to secrete water, swallowing the thick throat and the thick tail constantly swept ground. Only at this time or in the evening each day, they are happy to come to Chaos. In the rest of the time, I can't wait to be bitten to death, even the bones are not left. After filling up the 5 internal organs temple, the daily love and killing begins. Chaos closed his eyes back and forth to avoid the attacks of the 3 guys. He fought hard when he didn't hide, and would fight back from time to time. Anyway, he would kill him. Those 3 guys won't keep their hands, hoping to kill Chaos. Everyone has hidden murderous intentions. Life now is really not the freedom that a lion, a tiger, or a crocodile should have. It just killed him anyway. Scratching, biting, and bumping. The 3 guys just looked at each other and reached a consensus. The tacit understanding has been established in the past 2 years. When this human is killed, everyone will be good brothers. It's not a dream to return to the peak of the tiger, lion, and crocodile life in groups of lion concubines and free life. For a time, the chicken and the dog screamed and screamed again and again until the setting sun went down. Cool. Sweating his back and his whole body blue and purple, Chaos shook his sweat-drenched hair, stretched his waist and his whole body was sore. I don't know if it was an illusion. He felt a little uncomfortable if he didn't get beaten. The 3 guys on the ground had blue noses and swollen tongues, and they lay down on the ground and breathed rapidly, twitching their faces from time to time, and their faces were distorted by pain and despair. It's like being taken away forcibly for the first time in life. They are not clean anymore. More than 10 minutes later, when he saw Chaos dragging an elk and waved goodbye to them kindly, the three naives squatting on the ground spit out sputum on the ground, wishing Chaos from then on. The world has evaporated. They have been praying for this kind of dream for more than 2 years. But it's useless. The beast would still come to them the next day. The red clouds hover in the sky, and the sunset is beautiful. The red sun may sink to the horizon soon, and the gentle sea breeze blowing in the mountains makes people feel refreshed. Chaos carried the elk down the mountain, and has been acquainted with the town and other neighbors in the past 3 years. He has never exposed his abilities or found gold on the mountain. He has always been hunting in exchange for some daily necessities, and his home is halfway up the mountain, more than 10 minutes away from the small town at the foot of the mountain. Yo! Chaos caught another elk, which is a bit big. Walking on the streets of the town, many villagers greeted Chaos. Good luck today, you can live a good life again. Chaos smiled heartily, and all these people came and went. He can't catch prey every day. Sometimes it doesn't open for 2 or 3 days, and sometimes only catches some animals such as pheasants and hares. Chaos set his own people as ordinary people. It can be said that he is extremely cautious and has perfectly integrated himself into the ranks of ordinary people. Otherwise, with the current ability of Chaos, plus the 3 ligers and tigers, it would be easy to catch some large animals. Smiling all the way, these people have helped him more or less. Or send some daily necessities such as vegetables, soy sauce, vinegar, rice, and Chaos sometimes even send some game and some medicinal materials. You come and I help each other, and life is still peaceful and peaceful. Carrying the elk to the butcher's house on the street, the butcher solves all the killing of pigs in the small town, and also opened a butcher's stall. Basically, the prey that Chaos caught was sold to the butcher. The price is fair. Regardless of the fierceness of the butcher, he is actually very enthusiastic. After selling the elk, Chaos went to the udon noodle shop opened by the old wife and wife of Thist, where he often ate noodles on credit. Uncle Teast, the old rules, put more spicy and green onions. Sitting on the stool, Chaos yelled in the direction of the kitchen. No problem. Theist in the kitchen didn't come out to greet him, he knew it was Chaos when he heard the voice. There is a new newspaper today. Looking at the newspaper on the table, Chaos opened it and began to read it. In the past 3 years, he learned about the news from the outside world. The newsbird in this world is a magical place. As long as there are people living in it, there will basically be newsbirds with newspapers to sell. The lonely red Balorik Redfield and Marine Admiral Buddha Sengoku flee after destroying a medium-sized island for 5 days and 5 nights in the New World War. Iron Fist Garp pursued the Roger pirates. The 2 sides fought on the Grand Line. The result is unknown. Whitebeard Edward Newgate appeared in New World and clashed with Golden Lion Shiki, the captain of the Flying Pirates. Marshal Marine Kong personally hit Kaido, but Kaido escaped by chance. The IWC Toto Land established by Charlotte Linlin is rapidly expanding its power. World Destroyer Burndy World destroyed a branch of Marine Admiral Black Arm Zephyr made a strong shot. Marine's 3 Logia rookies, Sakazuki, Peluzalino, and Kuzan, have captured numerous pirates offering hundreds of millions of rewards on the Grand Line. In the latest issue of the newspaper, there are a lot of news reported on it. In addition to those pirates who became legends after more than 20 years, there are also many great pirates who have never appeared in the original works, and they offer hundreds of millions of rewards. Hundreds of millions in this era. In Luffy's era, it was 3 to 4 billion, and it was still the kind without water. In the future era of big pirates, the amount of rewards does not represent strength, but the degree of crime. Such as the indiscriminate killing of innocents, the destruction of villages and kingdoms, the amount of rewards will rise sharply. Unlike the current era, the amount of rewards is linked to strength, and the more rewards, the stronger the strength. It's so King dangerous. Looking at the reports, many of them were news from a month or even half a month ago. Now all kinds of Gyuki snake gods and demons are dancing around, thinking about it, it's exciting. Although there are only a few who can become legends in the future, those who offer hundreds of millions of rewards for everything in this era have a few brushes in their hands. As long as he can live to Luffy's time, he will be duly sealed as a legendary pirate. In this era, Kaido and Big Mom are already showing their prowess. Roger, Whitebeard, Golden Lion, Lonely Red, Garp, Zephyr, Sengoku, World Destroyer are writing their own legends. Rookies like Sakazuki, Peluzalino, and Kuzan are also bloom your own light. In the future, the world structure of 4 emperors, 7 warlords of the sea, marine, revolutionary army, underground kings, etc. has not yet formed, and the world government is still the most well-deserved overlord. The mentally retarded groups in the Holy Land are still singing and dancing, living a life of drunken and golden fans. The era of the great pirates has not yet begun. After 3 years, it's time to go out and get insights. It's a wave. The previous life was unremarkable, just an invisible person for all living beings. When you see those glamorous stars on TV, the rich second generation who is out of luxury cars and beauties, or the rich and powerful, where is the focus? He also wants to be high profile and arrogant. Others still have no choice but to take him. That kind of life is what he wants. Finally got the protagonist's script: don't make the world miserable, just die. Even if his leg was broken or he died on the way, he had to finish the process. Not only did he have to go, but he had to go high profile and arrogant. B. Must be installed. This is a matter of principle. Not negotiable. After eating the udon noodles, Chaos returned to the wooden house halfway up the mountain. This island is called the Goat Island, and it's on the Grand Line. In almost half a year, some merchant ships will dock to sell or buy supplies, and some pirates will be out of luck. Calculating the time, there will be 3 to 4 months before merchant ships will pass by. Chaos intends to follow the merchant ship to see outside first, and currently has no clear goal. The most basic core is to become stronger. When he has the ability to protect wealth, he will be the world's richest man. One Piece is not as loud as his name. After all, the era of the great pirate started by Roger is based on One Piece, but One Piece symbolizes wealth, power and fame. These 3 things are already available to the world's richest man. Maybe Roger has to find other reasons for temptation to start the great pirate era. In addition, if you are boring, you can do 2 side jobs, such as getting a 4 emperors and 7 warlords of the sea. It takes a long way to go to say the arrogant and compelling saying, "I'm not interested in money, I've never touched money." Although there are some double standards, it feels very cool. Night had fallen, and there was no entertainment in the evening, so Chaos had no choice but to continue practicing. Although a little tired, the thought of going out to sea would be life-threatening, and his fighting spirit suddenly became high. I am a little bit tired now, but I am preparing for the future. When I think of the arrogant and rich life in the future, these are nothing. For 3 to 4 months, see if you can successfully practice 6 forms or 2-color hockey. Even if it is only one of them, you can make money. In the early morning of the next morning, Chaos came to the back mountain wall just after the fish sauce and white belly, and continued to develop the golden fruits on a daily basis. With both hands facing the ground, he grabbed it in the air. If there is gold in the ground within a radius of 10 meters, all of it would break out of the ground, suspended in front of Chaos like an arm drive. With the thought, these golds become 18 weapons like swords, guns, swords and halberds, or they can be compressed and split into small needles, which fly out like bullets and can easily penetrate the rocks and surrounding trees. This is hardened gold. Immediately afterwards, all the gold was combined into one, about as much as a 1-meter cube, and the weight was very large. It can be said that it is all the gold of the entire island, which has been collected by Chaos for the past 3 years and buried here. Under the control of Chaos, it began to soften, forming a strong gold lion majesty, which curled up a tree and tightened, and finally the tree broke with a click. This ability is similar to Magneto's superpower, except that Chaos controls gold. Ability is strong, but it is based on the presence of gold. He still can't make gold out of thin air, or convert an object into gold. He can only turn his physique into gold, or manipulate an existing range of gold. Even the Golden Emperor in the theater version, even if Devil Fruit has awakened, cannot make gold out of nothing. Perhaps it is possible to develop to a deeper level. Gold Lion Majesty seems to have life under the control of Chaos. Crawling and twisting on the ground like a snake, soft and boneless, it is not as hard as hardened. Now it is fluid and soft. As soon as he lifted his right hand, the Golden Lion Majesty stood upright and began to change, and finally hardened and compressed into a 3-meter-long square halberd. Chaos held it in his hand and danced casually. The flying sand and the stone ground were easily torn. Flicking into the air, Fang Tian's painted halberd began to split into a golden long sword, erected on the mountain wall deep in the distance with the sound of breaking through the air behind Chaos. This trick is a bit like Gilgamesh's Treasure of the King. There is a long-range attack. When the armed color is awakened in the future, the offensive power will be even more terrifying, and the combination of experience and color means where to fight. After bombarding wildly for a while, Chaos pressed all the golden swords with his right hand to rotate around his body. Amidst the collision of the Golden Horse and Iron Horse, several golden swords began to soften and merge into one, fitting Chaos from head to toe. Sis' body spread to his head. With just 2 or 3 breaths, Chaos was impenetrable and put on the golden armor. It's like the Iron Man nano battle gear in Avengers 4. There is nothing wrong with walking 2 steps back and forth, just because the golden chaos on his body can be soft if he wants to be soft, so there is no joint stiffness. Shoo. Disappearing in place and appearing 3 meters away, Chaos hit a tree trunk with a thick thigh with a punch, and the dense tree broke and collapsed with a crack. The gold on the back of the right hand squirmed and spread into a golden long sword, and when it struck the broken trunk, it easily split into 2 pieces. Long-range attacks, wearing golden armor, and the ability to change weapons at will are equivalent to offensive and defensive integration. No matter whether it is close combat or long-range combat, there are no special weaknesses. When wearing the golden armor, Chaos himself can also become a little golden man. That would be a dual defense. In the future, if you learn Iron Body and Armed Color, the defense is definitely leveraged. The golden armor on his body began to shrink. Chaos raised his hands and shook it, and then took a deep breath. Then a miracle happened, and Chaos began to lift off from the ground, and finally stood 10 meters in the air and looked at the surrounding scenery. The corners of his mouth were cracked to the roots of his ears, and he was obviously in a good mood. Even if he has not learned moonwalk, he can still fly by manipulating gold. I thought that when I first came up with this idea, and I was going to practice, I accidentally fell freely from the air every day. It felt like walking a tightrope. Very silky. Boom, the wind and waves swept through Chaos, speeding up, disappearing into the sky and coming to the back of the forest. It soared to the sky and stood above the clouds. Surrounded by wide and boundless white clouds, Chaos closed his eyes and opened his hands, as if embracing the whole world. The golden armor spread to the soles of the feet and finally formed a golden giant sword. Chaos stepped on it and disappeared into the white clouds. It didn't take long before it sprang out from the white clouds in the other direction. For a while, the fat white cloud marshmallow thousand, there were sores and pits everywhere caused by the flight of Chaos. The legendary flying sword was achieved in this way. This is also the reason why Chaos has the courage to go to sea, because flying can increase a lot of chances of survival. Can't fly, there is no sense of security in the sea. Wow. Cool. Chaos laughed wantonly. This kind of free and easy flight, as if the bird had the feeling of the whole world, it was really cool. The golden giant sword began to soften and spread to the back. Chaos landed freely towards the blue and magnificent sea, but 2 huge golden wings appeared behind Chaos just 2 breaths, and as the flapping rolled up the wind and waves, Chaos ups and downs in the air like a golden birdman. Once again, flying soaring into the sky and standing on the top of the cloud, the golden wings transformed into a palm-sized mini golden sword, which burst into the air like a bullet, and finally formed a golden torrent flying through the clouds. There was a small golden sword at each of Chaos's feet, and the surrounding dense golden long swords circled in his heart, forming a storm winding and revolving. The sound of the collision of the golden horse and the iron horse couldn't stop people's enthusiasm. Recklessly developing in the clouds, Chaos fell to the island in free fall almost an hour later, and it was not easy to exhaust most of his physical strength. 3 feet off the ground slowly fell to the ground. The golden armor on his body fell off and hit the ground. The weight was not light. But he has already adapted. It's a pity that there is only so much gold on the island, otherwise wearing and walking every day is equivalent to carrying heavy weight training. Sitting cross-legged on the spot and waving his right hand at the gold in front of him, he began to squirm into a little golden man with a height of 1.7 meters. Under his control, the little golden man turned into somersaults and jumps one after another, and also did a broadcast gymnastics. Golden Warrior. This is a golden clone made by Chaos, inspired by Doflamingo's Shadow Knight string. Such as the golden armor, flying sword, treasure of the king, etc., are all based on the ideas of others, such as Iron Man, Magneto, Gilgamesh, and Doflamingo. Compared to the boring development of the original Tezzolo, Chaos is more diverse. For example, flying with swords, Tezzolo didn't expect it. This is the gap between thinking and imagination. After all, Devil Fruit relies on imagination. As long as there is a little foundation, then some imagination will become real. However, some unrealistic, unfounded and basic ideas are just impossible to achieve in the mirror. Under the control of Chaos, the Golden Warrior sits in a variety of difficult movements, but if you observe carefully, you will find that it is not so coordinated, and it cannot be compared with Doflamingo's Shadow Knight string. When Chaos develops this trick to be like himself, he doesn't need to go out in person to break into the sea. After the enemy desperately defeats the Golden Warrior, It turns out that this is only gold remotely controlled by Chaos, and his face must be green by then. But this trick has a big disadvantage, that is, it is not very coordinated now, and it can't leave Chaos for 10 meters, as long as it exceeds this range, it can't be controlled. It would be nice to see and hear if you awaken. Chaos sighed. If he combines this trick with seeing, hearing, and seeing, how far away he can perceive seeing, hearing and seeing, it is estimated that he can control how far. Obviously, the soul was baptized because of the crossing, but he still didn't awaken in 3 years. This is still after the baptism. If there is no baptism, with the talents of the previous life, it will not be until the year of the monkey to reach the present achievement. Worry. The other is moonwalk. Even if Chaos can fly through gold, Chaos has made up his mind to learn. If one day loses the golden fruit, or there is no gold to control, he can also increase his survival rate with moonwalk. This is a matter of principle. Not only moonwalk, but Chaos also wants to learn all the 6 forms, and even return his awakened life. The physical skill must not be let go. It is about resistance, resilience, endurance, physical fitness, and so on. Throughout the power system of Pirate World, physical skills are important and important. Spring is going and autumn is coming, and the sky is falling with heavy snow. I thought that the merchant ship would come to the Goat Island in 3 to 4 months, but 5 months later, I didn't even see a shadow. Miscalculated. At this time, Chaos was like a bald green pine, standing proudly on the highest mountain on the island, with snow-covered eyes, and only half of the mountainside in the foot of the mountain were there a lot of greenery. This is a very boring winter. He was practicing asceticism, with a pair of big pants all over his body, and his muscles were not so obvious. Combined with Chaos's height of 2 meters, he appeared to be a little even and slender. In this pirate world with an average height of more than 3 meters, Chaos is undoubtedly a disabled person. This is a very sad thing. Yep. Looking at the endless sea level, where a big ship was approaching the island, Chaos looked very good, and did not see the pirate flag. It's a merchant ship. After waiting for 5 months, it's finally here. With a breath of mist coming out of his mouth, Chaos jumped directly off the cliff. When he was 30 meters above the ground, his whole person suddenly hung in the air and flew towards the foot of the mountain as quickly as running in the air. Moonwalk. Chaos successfully cultivated in these 5 months. The main thing is to succeed in the shaving practice. After all, moonwalk is strictly regarded as an evolutionary version of the shaving. As long as the shaving is successfully practiced, and then the master balances the relevant strengths, naturally moonwalk will be fully integrated. And not only moonwalk, but also other abilities. Now that he has achieved his preliminary magical skills, it is time to go to sea to write his legend. I have been here for 3 years and 5 months, and now I see the value of counseling. As he flew through a jungle, Chaos grabbed the ground. A fist-sized gold floating in the air turned into a few mini flying knives. With the sound of breaking through the air like bullets, it hit exactly 20 meters away. Hare and pheasant finally flew to Chaos with the prey. Nor did he bid farewell to Little Jaw, Little Tiger, Little Lion, and Chaos could not wait to go home. Sakura stood in front of the flower tree and grabbed the ground. A large piece of gold broke out of the ground. In the end, the gold covered the whole body of Chaos, forming the leggings and inner armor. Can't see the golden inner armor on Chaos. This is Chaos's trump card, this golden inner armor. As long as Chaos is willing to become a murder weapon, it can also become a defensive shield. Offensive and defensive integration is a must-have for home travel and house robbery. And this set of gold inner armor material is the gold essence concentrated by Chaos, continuously removing impurities. Entering the town, you can see that many people are purchasing supplies, and some leaders or guards are eating in the tavern. Generally, merchant ship supplies are when everyone makes a lot of money. It's also time for everyone to spend money. Carrying hares and pheasants, as well as a lot of dried animal skins, Chaos came to the port and looked at the giant ship about 30 meters long in front of him. There were many people carrying supplies. Just the size of the merchant ship, you can tell at a glance. There is some ability. Generally, pirate ships really dare not robbery at sea. Just the artillery fire on both sides of the merchant ship, as well as the guards patrolling around, some wearing armor, some holding fire guns, well-trained merchant ships of a certain kingdom or power. Nowadays, there are many villagers and people on merchant ships trading things on the shore, and everyone takes what they need. Many villagers greeted Chaos, and merchant ships will also collect the animal furs that Chaos carries. But this time Chaos didn't plan to exchange money or supplies, but wanted to exchange these things for a ride on a merchant ship. First, let's see if the merchant ship is going to the 4 seas or the second half of the Grand Line. It is best to go to the capital of 7 Waters or Sabodi Archipelago. The animal fur is here. A small steward of Merchant Marine looked at the animal fur that Chaos was carrying from a distance, with a smile on his face, just a little sly. He can tell at a glance that these furs are well preserved. Some wealthy and celebrities like this one the most. They only need to go to some wealthy countries or towns, and sell them for more than 50 times the profit. In this small village, he fudged whatever he wanted. Do you want to exchange supplies or sell? When Chaos came up with his fur, he kept quiet. There are several well-preserved tiger skins. The most important thing is those snow-white fox skins that are not stained with dirt. There are also many other animal furs, but they are not as valuable as tiger skins and fox skins. Excuse me. Where will your merchant ship eventually stop? Which islands will it pass through? Chaos blinked, looking simple and honest. The final location is Sabodi Archipelago, and we will pass Alabasta, the city of 7 Waters, and some other islands on the way. The little manager didn't look up, and continued to observe the fur. You may not have heard of these islands before, and it's no use asking them. Is it for supplies or Bailey? Can these things give me a ride? I'm going to Sabodi Archipelago. Chaos didn't hesitate too much, and just happened to look at the little steward who was raising his head. You sure? Yep. The little manager hesitated for a moment, meditated for a moment and coughed until, I can let you on board, but these things are all used as the boat fare. In addition, I am not responsible for any pirates or dangers encountered in the way. Good. We will sail the boat in 3 hours. You take this thing. When you get on the boat with this, someone will lead you to your residence. The steward took out a ticket from his arms. It was really a ferry ticket. In the case of Chaos, every merchant ship will encounter it. Nowadays, there are many people on the ship, like Chaos, who boarded the ship on other islands and then went to the next island. In this era, small merchants or ordinary people use merchant ships to go to other islands. After all, it is a bit safer. It's the most stupid to set sail alone. What's more, here is the Grand Line. Like Luffy Pig's feet, he dared to drive a small boat out to sea at the beginning, but Chaos asked himself that he couldn't do it. Can only be said to be the son of destiny in this world. If Chaos had a model and went out to sea like this, he might not find the dead body, or it might have become a baba and merged with the sea. Chaos, you want to leave? Several aunts and uncles nearby did not show any unexpected expressions. After all, everyone knew that Chaos was a foreigner, and they were not surprised to leave one day. Yes. Chaos handed the hare and pheasant to the 2 aunts, and looked back at the town in the back mountain. He was still a little bit disheartened. After all, I have been here for 3 years and 5 months. After I become strong, I might come back here one day. This is my starting point, and the most important years of youth in my life are also lost here. After bidding farewell to the aunts and uncles, Chaos got on the boat. With the help of a ferry ticket, led by a messenger, enter a room on the bottom of the cabin. It is small, crowded, and messy. It is a room the size of an ordinary bathroom. The only thing that is fair is that there is a window to sea. When it came to the sea, Chaos lived alone. The key is that if you want to live with 2 people, you can't live. In the past, there were many rows of corridors in this kind of rooms. They were all occupied by people who had no money. Some wealthy people would live on the upper floor. The rooms were bigger and more luxurious. Chaos didn't plan to change, just this kind of room is not bad. The wealth is not exposed, he still doesn't want to cause any trouble. 3 hours soon, as the merchant ship started moving away from the port. And on the snowy mountainside, 3 huge objects squatted on the ground and looked at the merchant ship going away, all of them relieved. This goddamn finally left. He didn't even say goodbye to them. No animality. Riding the wind and breaking the waves, the eyes are full of endless waves. 1 day has passed since the merchant ship left the Goat Island. Early in the morning, Chaos left the cabin and came to the deck. He took a deep breath of the sea breeze and couldn't help but think of a poem. What? You are all water in the sea. In the vast uncultivated sea, the merchant ship is like a flat boat. There was no pirate ship or other ships in 1 day, which made Chaos' original desire to see the pirates suddenly fade. This is not the same as watching anime. When the sea breeze blows on the deck for a while, Chaos is not good at practicing, so he has to return to his snail house. There are some entertainment programs on merchant ships, such as gambling. Chaos is not interested in these. It is worth mentioning that he can sense a lot of gold, and this merchant ship is quite rich. Returning to the narrow snail house, Chaos began to do push-ups and other exercises, which may have become a habit, which caused Chaos to feel a little uncomfortable without practicing for a day. This habit is well formed. At noon in the practice, Chaos pulled out gold the size of rice grains and went to the kitchen to change some food. Then go back to the snail house to lie down and prepare to take a nap. Continue to practice after waking up, but something happened to sleep like this. In a daze, Chaos felt himself in the cradle, as if someone was whispering in his ear, as if he had been coaxed to sleep when he was a child. Somehow the drop flew out of the cradle suddenly, hitting the ground full of heart palpitations, opened his eyes and found that the entire merchant ship was shaking violently. Can vaguely hear the sound of gunfire and shouting and killing outside. Looking out of the basin-sized window, there is a huge pirate ship next door. With a skull flag flying, you can see many pirates who are licking blood and holding fierce spears or swords. Fire. Don't let them run. Such a large merchant ship must be rich in materials and money. Shoo. Grenades were shot from the pirate ship, and the merchant ship also counterattacked. The two sides greeted warmly as soon as they came up. Big surprise. Chaos's face changed, and a grenade was shot at him, but he didn't panic. After confirming the look in his eyes, he would be fine even if he was hit by shelling. But still have to hide. Quickly opened the door and closed the door, and the action was done in one go. Rumble. A huge fire rushed from behind, and Chaos held the door with one hand, looking at the panicked people in the corridor, slowly looking a little out of place. Run. The pirate is here. We will be safe. This merchant ship still has a lot of guards. Damn it, my cargo, that is all my property. Help. The various states of life are unfolding, and Chaos prepares to take a look on the deck. Passing by some rooms, they were all shattered by artillery shells and burned with fire. You could see the sea swept by the waves outside from close at hand, and many of them were blasted into fragments. Various internal organs and stumps and broken arms were sprinkled on the walls, and blood flowed drippingly. The smell of blood and burning made Chaos frown slightly uncomfortable. It was the first time that he saw bloody human tissues so close. The bearing capacity is not bad, and there are no symptoms of nausea or vomiting. On the first floor of the cabin, many guards went back and forth in the corridor, either holding muskets or long knives. Even some guests were among them, very aggressive. Now it's a matter of life and death for everyone. Anyone who is in the wrong way will hold a weapon, which will increase a lot of security. There are also some people who only know how to scream and scream. One of the landscapes makes Chaos a little bit astonished. That is the ant with a tonnage of at least 300 kilograms. Wearing a chef's uniform, she should be a chef. At this moment, she is holding a 1-meter-long boning knife and ran outside with a fierce face. She is simply a human tank. People who didn't know thought they were going to kill pigs. Very shocking. Don't come out and make trouble, just let me in. Don't occupy the road, we will protect your safety. Block the dignity of my guards, everyone don't come out. The whole corridor was hot, 2 or 3 guards in armors shouted to everyone. It is a pity that panic is spreading, and many people have lost their composure. Outside, the originally calm sea was completely turbulent. The pirate ship and the merchant ship were very close, and some fierce pirates and guards had been fighting on the two ships. Both the pirate ship and the merchant ship were shaking violently now, and the seawater that was tumbling due to the explosion lifted up on the deck, a blood red. Many pirates and guards lay on the deck wailing or turning into a corpse. The stumped arm and the shocking wound were disgusting just to look at. Bullets with short eyes also flew everywhere, and the cabin walls were beaten to pieces. Haha. Kill these damn guards. Brothers are looking for a woman. It's been a long time since I started eating meat. Finally encountered a merchant ship and couldn't let him escape. We are the Fang pirates. If we give up resistance, we can spare your lives. Our captain is offering a reward of 8.7 million Bailey's fangs, and Grand Line even Marine has to give face. Shoot, save me, I was shot. Go to hell. Chaos walked out of the cabin and looked at the chaotic deck. The pirates were laughing wantonly, and some were screaming and wailing. The bloody level was like on the battlefield, and they would die if they were not careful. Call out. A bullet passed by, breaking a hole in the wall on the spot. Chaos' eyelids beat, and his heart beat faster. The merchant ship can't sink, he has to use the merchant ship to go to the city of Seven Waters or Saboti Archipelago. Right in front, a guard was fighting with a pirate with a long knife. I don't know if it was the reason for the weak body, and it was obviously not the pirate's opponent. Just a moment, his arm was cut off, lying on the ground screaming. With a slight movement of Chaos's finger, the golden inner armor split into a piece of gold and quickly turned into a nail. With a sloshing sound, like a small lightning, it passed through the back of the pirate's head in one fell swoop. There was no obstacle at all. The pirate held a long knife and slammed it on the ground. The blood on his forehead was mixed with brain plasma, and his body twitched from time to time and quickly lost his breath. Chaos didn't feel much about killing a pirate easily. Looks like it is no different from squeezing a chicken to death. The guard who had originally thought he would die turned pale with a stunned face while he was holding his broken arm. He crawled around and quickly found the bunker, sweating and hiding. Death. Everyone will be afraid. Chaos had been standing at the door of the cabin. 4 golden nails appeared again in his hands, and then under the covert manipulation of Chaos, he harvested life like Shinigami. This is equivalent to putting a cold gun, faster than a bullet, and simply can't avoid it. Still in such a chaotic situation. Wherever the 5 golden nails went, the pirates fell like wheat. Some powerful pirates perceive the danger and can subconsciously roll on the spot or hold obstacles, thinking that they can avoid them. But the key is that these golden nails can be turned under the control of Chaos. With a scream, many people noticed something was wrong. Damn, there are strong men on this ship. Defense. Notify the captain. A corpse was left behind, and the pirates and the guards were left at a distance, slowly forming a defense and staring at all the guards, but the 2 sides were still shooting cold guns. The atmosphere fell into seriousness for a while, and the minced meat viscera on the deck that was soaked with blood was exposed, very miserable and bloody. Boom. A huge body of 3 meters high jumped from the pirate ship to the deck of a merchant ship. A burly man with thick eyebrows, big eyes and sharp teeth, wearing an open-chested overcoat, with a beard and 3 pistols pinned to his waist, held a hand in his hand. Hangwang Lingling's machete. A fierce aura hits his face, with a strong sense of oppression. Many guards held their weapons nervously, even the captain of the guards had a heavy expression at the moment. Fang. The captain of the Fang pirate group, offers a reward of 8.7 million Baileys. This kind of reward is placed 20 years later, at least more than 40 million, and it is not the kind of parallel imports that only knows to kill ordinary people. Who is the matter? The 2-meter-long machete hammered on the ground, and the fangs looked at all the guards fiercely, and the depths of their eyes were full of playfulness. The captain of the guard was wearing armor and holding a spear weapon in his hand. He stood vigorously and looked at the Fang. As for the captain, hiding behind these guards did not dare to come out. He is only the captain of a merchant ship, not the captain of the pirate regiment. He has no other ability besides being able to fire a few shots. He may be a little bit old. This situation can only rely on the most powerful captain on board. Hand over your treasures, women, and goods, and I can spare your lives. Fang's gaze was full of danger, looking at the captain and surrounding guards who were dignified, full of disdain. Don't think about it. The captain did not hesitate at all. He traveled north and south for so many years, knowing the greed of these pirates. If all the treasures, women, and goods are handed over, it will not only affect the reputation of their merchant ships, but these pirates may also turn back. And give everything to the pirates. In this boundless sea, they will definitely hold on for less than 3 days. Unless it is very close to the nearest island. However, according to the nautical chart, they are still 2 days away from the nearest island. During this period, it is not ruled out that they will encounter severe weather such as storms. The weather on the Grand Line is changeable. At the first moment, it was cloudless, and the next moment it might rain down. All kinds of weird weather can't be prevented. Handing everything to the other party is no less than waiting to die. Huh. The women stay, the men are all killed. Fang snorted coldly, he just observed it. The captain is the strongest right now, and the other guards and ordinary people are not mentioned. As for the strange things reported to him just now, it may be caused by some cold shots. Even if there is a strong secretly, he is not afraid. Fang is very confident in his own strength. Kill these pirates. Rush. Kill. The melee began again, this time more ferocious and brutal than before. Chaos was still standing at the door of the cabin, with his index finger lightly picking. The blood-stained golden nails that had been scattered in the corners once again reaped their lives with the sound of breaking through the air. Ah, Captain, there is a sneak attack. The screams stopped abruptly. A pirate's temple was penetrated, fell to the ground and twitched a few times before stopping. Damn it, it's a sniper. Find the location of the sniper. Yes. Kill. Stumped limbs and broken arms and hot blood are constantly splashing, one by one cold gun bullets. Whether the battle is the most central Fang in the battle between the captain is more pleasing to the eye. Kaios was reaping his life while watching the battle between Fang and the captain. The Fangs were playfully abused, holding a machete like a cold light sweeping across the army. The captain leaned back in an emergency, and the cabin behind it was shattered like tofu. Chaos was a little surprised. Is this a slash? The captain of the field supported the ground with one hand, and Lion Majesty held the spear in his right hand, stabbing it out, and the target pointed directly at the heart of the fangs. It's a pity to be hidden by Fang Fang. With this strength, I dare to resist me. The fangs leapt high, and the speed of holding the machete tightly in both hands was not slow at all, and the momentum was as fierce and powerful as a beast rushing to eat. The captain was very calm and calmly responded. Although he is not an opponent in strength, his speed is dominant. You come and I go between the two sides. The collision of the machete and the spear was filled with sparks, and the surrounding wind swept away some corpses and wooden barrel debris. Ding. Sparks flew, the team's long spear was blocked on the head, his complexion flushed and his feet were deep in the deck. A trace of blood spilled from the corner of his mouth. Die. With a grinning fangs, his right hand suddenly pulled out the pistol pinned to his waist, and shot the captain close at hand. Even if the captain tilted his head at a critical juncture, the bullet still slashed across his face with a piece of flesh and blood. At this time, the fangs were sideways and kicked heavily on the captain's chest. Hot blood spurted out of his mouth, and the captain flew out and smashed a chain of supplies, lying in the armor with blood stained and his face pale. Haha. Fang Fang succeeded in the sneak attack, but he didn't get complacent. Instead, he rushed out in the first place, trying to beat down the dog to kill the captain in one fell swoop. As long as this guy is killed, the entire merchant ship is in his bag. Treasures, food, and women will be his choice at that time. Kaios, who had been watching all this, sighed. Originally, Fang Fang was slightly better than the captain, plus enough cunning and insidious. It is not surprising that there is such a result now. Can't continue to wait and see. The golden inner armor on his body softened and flowed out from the trousers, turning into a huge golden sword. Following Chaos's finger, it shot out towards the fangs with a breaking sound on the spot. Who? Fang was very vigilant, and he noticed the sound of breaking the air and placed the machete in front of his chest for the first time. Just as the golden giant sword shot, the huge power surged back and forth, and almost fell into the sea. Found it. Chaos obviously couldn't conceal such a move. Many pirates around looked over for the first time, and they all began to rush or shoot fiercely. The skin under Chaos's clothes quickly turned into gold, and he pulled the golden giant sword between his hands and quickly differentiated into thin golden needles, which fell densely in midair. All the pirates stopped and swallowed while looking at the golden needle in the air. Fall. Pressing down with both hands, the thin needle was like rain, and in a panic of crying fear, it broke through the pirates into a sieve. Go to hell. With bloodshot eyes, the fangs rushed up holding a machete. At the moment, Chaos disappeared in place with a shave, appeared on the side of the fangs with a heavy foot, and with a scream of fangs, it turned into a cannonball into the cabin and caused a scream. Some people hiding inside fled one after another. Chaos looked calm, and the golden needles that pierced the deck with a move of his right hand began to float in the air, recombined into 5 golden long swords and stood on top of his head. Pirates all around were already lying on the ground. After all, the guards didn't just watch, they all took the opportunity to fall into the pit and catch them. You angered me. A fierce voice came from the cabin. Fangs dragged the machete to spit out the blood from his mouth, and his face was full of fierce looking at Chaos. 5 golden long swords were aimed at the fangs, and Kaios sneered. Boom. Fang rushed up, holding a pistol in his left hand and shooting 5 bullets in succession. With the thought of Chaos, a golden long sword fell down and transformed into a shield, suspended firmly in front of him, and the other 4 golden long swords flew out. Ding ding ding. The fangs roared. The machete actually pushed away the 4 golden long swords, and came to Chaos, holding the machete high, and came to a breakthrough. Chaos didn't panic at all. The golden shield changed its growth sword again, and his right hand grabbed it on the top of his head. As the force pressed down the deck, a crack was created, which blew Chaos' coat. I thought how powerful the opponent was, but now Chaos found that he could sling the opponent. Actually, I am very strong. Chaos squeezed the gold with his left hand, and dense golden spikes appeared on it, each sharp flashing cold light, punching at the fangs. The latter's complexion changed quickly and quickly drew away from the distance and escaped dangerously. But Sao's used the shave to get close, jumped up and swept his right foot across the face of the fangs. With the teeth and the splash of blood, the whole face of the fangs was deformed and painful, and it flew away with the sound of breaking. The wood chips, lying at the end, dizzy and almost unable to get up. Chaos landed and raised his hand, and 5 golden swords flew out one after another, each shining golden light in the sunshine, but now it is a deadly weapon. Fang struggled to get up and rolled on the spot, too late to think about the image. 5 golden long swords fell into the deck, only the hilt was exposed. Chaos is like a cat playing with a mouse, using fangs to test the moves developed by golden fruit. The metal collided with sparks, and the 5 golden swords split into dense golden needles, aiming at the fangs with sharp edges. Damn it. Like the sound of a swarm of bees shooting, the fang's white face was full of panic, and he quickly found a cover to hide behind and gasped. Devil fruit, that guy is demon fruit power. Some common sense fangs are still known. After all, there is a reward of more than 8 million yuan, and he is still a small, famous, innocent pirate in the surrounding seas. I have heard of the secret treasure of the sea more than once, but I didn't expect to encounter it today. The lock of the sky. The 3 golden long swords collided and merged and turned into a golden chain, as if a python curled toward the fangs. Even if the fangs fired several shots or the machete was useless to resist. The chain will not only evade, even if it is cut off, it can be reconnected. His hands were entangled one after another, and the huge body of fangs was abruptly lifted up in the sky. The chains on his body became tighter and tighter, and even the bones seemed to be broken. Chaos raised his hand with a wave, and the remaining 2 golden long swords turned into spears, standing behind them at any time to fall and nail their fangs in midair. Spare. Spare. I can be your subordinate. The fear of death envelops the soul, and his fangs are full of blood, begging for mercy with fear on his face. He doesn't want to die. Chaos looked around, and the captain and some guards in the distance, as well as many people peeping from the cabin, all looked at him. As for Fang's subordinates, most of them are dead. The remaining small part has been tied up, and the next fate may be to be killed or sold as a slave. Generally speaking, this is the fate of the pirates. Puff. The golden spear pierced through his heart, his Fang's body shook his nose and mouth, and his eyes were filled with despair and fear. With the death of the Fangs, the golden spear and golden chains floated in the air to throw off the bloodline above, and finally entered the cuffs of Chaos and turned into the inner armor again. Killing the Fangs was considered a shock, not to mention how much blood this guy had on his hands. He could also be regarded as walking the way for the sky. It would be nice if it were stronger, and perhaps it could be taken as a subordinate. It's too weak. Thank you for saving us. The captain and the captain came forward, all thanking Chaos. If it hadn't been for Chaos, they might have been buried on the bottom of the sea. The little steward who had given the ticket to Chaos before now opened his mouth in amazement. It's misleading. This is not an Orion, but a strong man. It's okay, it's easy. People's hearts are separated by the belly, and Chaos doesn't know whether these people are really grateful or false. Anyway, he is now the most powerful on this ship, and he is not afraid of any mods. Magic Valley Town, located in the first half of the Grand Line, is a small town where pirates gather for spending money. It can be said to be a paradise for pirates, and it is very prosperous. There are gambling, red light districts, and taverns above. It is not so much a small town as a small country, a gathering place for pirates. There is no such thing as ordinary people, because everyone's hands are covered with blood. There are people coming and going in the center of the town. Everyone who comes and goes has knives or guns around his waist. Perhaps it looks like a weak girl with several lives in his hands. The possibility of a big fight will happen at any time. If you are not vigilant, you may not even know how to die. On the sea horizon far away from Mogu Town, a merchant ship docked far away at this time. Looking from the bow of the merchant ship, you will find that Magic Valley Town is just a black spot the size of a sesame. Mr. Chaos, are you sure you want to go to Magic Valley Town? On the deck, the captain, a group of guards, and many others looked at Chaos. Yes. Chaos looked at the black spots there. The Fang pirates that was settled the day before yesterday was the first time he had fought against people in the past 3 years. Although he could solve the opponent without any effort, Saos felt that he could still improve, such as the speed of gold manipulation and flexibility. In addition, fighting with people and fighting with animals are completely different things. Although this battle was easy, Chaos's thoughts and insights have improved a lot. Sure enough, you still have to fight with people. Some things can only be better mastered and run in through battle. Therefore, Chaos intends to learn the life creed of Pingtu, and do it if he refuses to accept it, either in a fight or on the way to a fight. Made to the death. It happened that the town of Magic Valley was in the surrounding waters, and the merchant ship was also willing to send him a ride. After they were rescued from Chaos, their treatment was very different from before. The arranged rooms are the most luxurious, and they also automatically offer the treasures of the Fang pirates, but Chaos only needs gold, which is refined to be integrated with the golden inner armor. This is the change brought about by strength. As long as you have strength, wealth, fame, power, and women are all at your fingertips. In addition, Chaos still remembers that Magic Valley Town is part of Sky Island, which means that Sky Island is just above this island. He plans to try his luck to take a look and see if he can find Thunder Fruit. Even if you can't find the gold on it, you can store it first, and it will be very useful in the future. And Sky Island is very suitable as a base camp. It is a rare refuge. The town of Magic Valley below is also a very good place, where various Gyuki snake gods and pirates gather, just for exercise. So I want to go to Chaos and plan to stay in Magic Valley for a while, and don't worry about going to the City of Seven Waters or Sabodi Archipelago. But Demon Valley Town is a small town where pirates gather. There are many powerful pirates on it. Gone. Chaos beckoned, without giving everyone a chance to speak, and controlled the golden inner armor figure to hang in the air like a cannonball and flew out towards the town of Magic Valley. Let's leave this sea, too. The captain was a little anxious, because it was too close to Demon Valley Town, and it was possible to encounter the pirate group at any time. As the merchant ship quickly turned around, it disappeared on the horizon in a short time. At this moment, the figure of Chaos landed in the jungle on the back of the island, and did not swagger into Magic Valley Town from the front, which seemed a little low-key. Demon Valley Town can only be said to be a pirate town that spends money like the earth, and it still maintains an extraordinary influence even after 20 years. Basically, some pirates with a higher heart than the sky or self-confidence will deliberately come here to check in even if it is a detour on the Grand Line. After all, it is easy to be famous here. As long as you are famous on this island, you can quickly spread to the Grand Line, so the town of Magic Valley is one of the good places to gain fame. The premise is hard enough. Chaos walked out of the jungle and looked at the contiguous buildings along the coast. He could hear the voices of people even far away. Looking up to the sky, white clouds surrounded the sun, and just above this 10,000 meters, an island full of magic and gold was there. Boom. A burst of gunshots and shouting to kill caught the eyes of Chaos. In the open space outside the town, more than 30 pirates fought together. It was a life and death battle. There are many other pirates around making a fuss, and they are actually buying to leave their bets. Chaos, violent, and bloody. I saw a good performance as soon as I came up. Just 5 or 6 minutes after the battle, someone automatically came out to move the corpse. If it weren't for the bloodline and some minced meat on the ground, who would have thought that more than a dozen people would have died in such a short period of time? The winner gets cheers and money, but the loser only has death. These pirates are completely crazy. After all, no one knew when he would die after licking the blood with the knife's mouth. That tight spirit had already been corroded and became abnormal. Chaos passed by and entered the town quietly. On both sides of the street, various taverns, red light districts, gambling shops and shops lined up. Death Carnival. To open a shop here, you must have guns around you, or you are not afraid of having a backstage behind you, otherwise you will not be able to stand. Drunk pirates can do anything. Some people who look like old and weak women and children are not ordinary people who are helpless. They are probably retired pirate thugs, all cruel masters. Of course there are some real ordinary people, but most of these ordinary people are the offspring of retired pirates, and ordinary people from outside cannot survive here. Here, I am embarrassed to go out without any blood on my hands. If you have not killed anyone, you can see at a glance if you have been in the way. For example, now, Chaos has been spotted. Boss, this guy is new at first sight. Still alone. 5 lunatics carrying long knives or muskets, grinning and surrounded Chaos in the middle, apparently eyeing Chaos as soon as he entered the town. Boy, hand over all the money you have, otherwise you won't be able to leave. The first man with a big beard, picking his nails, was a little careless. With his rich experience, it has been determined that this is a soft persimmon. It stands to reason that the Lone Ranger dared to come to Demon Valley Town. He must have the brush in his hand, and it is best not to provoke such a person. But the guy in front of him knew at a glance that there was no smell of fireworks on his body. It's the first time to enter a prosperous city with the country folks. Isn't it someone who is not easy to provoke? He can smell the smell even far away. As for why the Cheeks dare to rob here in broad daylight, it is naturally dependent. Backed by the Lion King pirates with a total reward of 76 million, the Captain Lion King Gappa is offering a reward of 53 million Baileys, which is demon fruit power. It may not be in the ranks of the Lion King pirate group in Demon Valley Town, but it also has a little reputation. Robbery like this can only bully novices or single-handed businesses, and those powerful pirates simply disdain it. Haha, another immature guy has been spotted. Kill him. Betting. I guess he can't hold on for 5 seconds. Lousy, bet him for 10 seconds. Isn't this a beard? The dog legs of the Lion King and pirates? It's boring, so I can only bully newcomers. The Lion King Gappa is a bit capable, and he got the treasure of the Sea Devil fruit after taking the shit, and he is still in the form of Zone Cat Fruit Male Lion. Let's go. This guy is dead. Just like that, more and more people watched the excitement, and most of the pirates thought that Chaos was dead. Some pirates who float at sea all year round and lick blood with their swords have a special temperament on their bodies. Chaos obviously doesn't have that temperament yet. It's more chaotic and crazy than I thought. Chaos came to Demon Valley Town and expected such a thing to happen. The scene now is the real pirate world, and it may be a battle of life and death with just a glance. Robbery like this is as normal as drinking water. This is exactly what he wants. Only by staying in a madman's den for a long time can you blend in and not look out of place. Some excitement, but what Chaos played was the heartbeat. He wants to become the richest man in the world. Boy, did you hear me? Hand over your money, or you will be killed. The mob with a musket spear poked Chaos in the forehead, a vicious threat. Many people around were all joking, thinking that Chaos was scared and stupid. Please don't poke me. Chaos tilted his head back, not angry. After all, these guys are dead in his eyes. He didn't come to Demon Valley Town for low-key fun, but wanted to hone himself through battle. There must be danger, but Chaos is not afraid, on the contrary, he is looking forward to it. Some are dead. Haha, my temper is not small, I will poke you, poke you. The thug laughed loudly. There may be a backstage, so he was unscrupulous. It's not that IQ is in a hurry. Puff, the barbaric laughter stopped abruptly. The mob's eyes protruding out of fear, his hands clasped his throat tightly, and the blood was splashing back at this moment. He opened his mouth and wanted to speak, but only hiccups. Chaos's index finger and middle finger were brought together, and blood was dripping on the ground. Finger pistol. Chaos didn't know if he had successfully cultivated. Anyway, he can leave fingerprints on the tree without goldization, if goldization can pierce it. This is true even for rocks. It is still unable to shoot the finger pistol like the original CP9 and the Underground King Strazy, like the kind of air bullets. The noisy atmosphere quieted down, but it only lasted for 3 seconds, and then it became more lively. This guy dared to do it. It's a stubborn thing. Finally there is a play. Kill them. Lousy presses you to win. Boy, I am optimistic about you. Kill these guys. Laughing endlessly for fear that the world will not be chaotic. The smell of blood can arouse the madness of these thugs and pirates. Look for death, kill him. With a gloomy face on his cheeks, he greeted the few remaining men who had already regarded Chaos as a dead person. Go to hell. A mob with a long knife slashed at Chaos fiercely. But Chaos just moved a step sideways, his body turned and his right foot swept across the mob's head with a sound of breaking through the air. With the twisted face and blood, the mob's entire head was kicked and exploded. The headless corpse tumbled to the ground, and the bloody neck was constantly blasting blood, which once caused the surrounding atmosphere to climax. Haha, that's it, kill them all. Amidst the roar of the attendants around, a mob held a firearm, dripping with sweat on his face and fired. Chaos disappeared in place and appeared in front of the mob in a blink of an eye. He pinched his neck with one hand and lifted it in the air. With a harder, it was like pinching a chicken's neck and dropped to the ground with just 2 twitches. Screamed. Puff puff. With the sound of several sharp weapons piercing into the flesh and blood, Chaos killed the remaining thugs like lightning, and looked at his beard with blood dripping from his fingers. Boy, you are dead. I'm doing something for the great pirate Lion King Gappa, who is offering a reward of 53 million. You kill my men now, you won't just forget it. Huo had a sullen face, and cold sweat dripped on his forehead when he pulled out the long knife from his waist. He looked away. This guy had just disappeared suddenly, and he didn't even see it clearly. There was a hint of sarcasm at the corner of Chaos's mouth. These guys are very strong for ordinary people, but they are just a little bit for him. He is very interested in this Lion King pirate group, he has offended him anyway, and he doesn't mind getting it done. With a reward of 53 million, it should be very suitable as a whetstone. In this era, a reward of 53 million is offered, which is not a small amount. Just now he heard someone say that it is a zone ability person, This kind of meat shield couldn't be more suitable. Call out. Chaos disappeared in place, appeared next to the beard in the blink of an eye, kicked out like this with a heavy kick. The beard is still a little capable, and at the critical moment, he even blocked the long knife in front of him, but the power of Chaos's kick was a little bit powerful. For this reason, the beard's face was flushed and he only insisted on 2 breaths and flew out. The people watching the play quickly backed away, all yelling and roaring. More excited than the two fighting. They yearned for the smell of blood, eager to fight scenes, and even more eager to hear screams and wailing. Ahem, 10 meters away, he was lying on the ground, his mouth and nose could not stop vomiting blood, he could barely get up with just 1 foot, his chest was painful like a living tear, and his bones were probably broken a lot. Chaos looked miserable, with a horrified beard on his face, and suddenly lost interest. This guy is a silver-like pewter spearhead, which is not to be used. Just save 1 life to inform the Lion King and pirates. This pirate group will become the first chicken he kills based on the town of Demon Valley. Chaos turned and left, planning to find a tavern to live in, but the next days may not be so leisurely. You kind of leave a name. Chaos stopped, turned his head and looked at Luhu for a moment. Anyway, it's here to do it, so it can be a little arrogant. It has been 3 years and 5 months, and now that he has the ability to protect himself, it is time to make a high profile and spread his reputation all over the world. Golden Emperor Gaia Kaios. After leaving behind a line with the name of Chaos, a group of pirates who watched the show yelled at them, and then they dispersed. As for the beard, he looked fiercely at the back of Chaos leaving, clutching his chest and leaving slowly. Tropical Hotel. More than 10 minutes later, Chaos stood in front of a large hotel. Before entering the door, he could hear the noise inside. Many pirates were drinking. What do you need? As soon as Chaos entered the door, a 5-year-old, 3 thick and 4-meter high waiter stepped forward, carrying a mace in his hand and a gun on his waist, looking down at Chaos. Who would have thought that this guy would be a waiter? Generally speaking, the waiter should be the kind of beautiful and charming beauties, which is simply a beast. Esbacker, you idiot, I want a case of rum here. Not far away at the dinner table, a few pirates were yelling at them. Asshole. Didn't you see Lousy entertaining new guests? Give it to Lousy. Spike turned his head and cursed in a louder voice, then continued to look at Chaos with a little impatientness. Boy, eat or stay at the restaurant, hurry up. Stay in, eat too. The corners of Chaos's mouth were smoked. The hall was mixed with all kinds of smells of sweat, tobacco and alcohol, and food. It was as hot as a pigsty. The most luxurious room, 100,000 Baileys a day. The second luxury room, 50,000 Baileys a day. Single room 10,000 Baileys a day. Go to the counter with Lousy to pay the deposit. Spike dragged his mace, turned around sharply and walked towards the counter. The person who collected the money was an old man who smoked with a cigarette stick, and the owner of this restaurant. He looked demented and dizzy. He used to be a pirate. He heard that the reward amount almost exceeded 100 million. In addition, many pirates are unwilling to provoke the acquaintance of other business owners in Magic Valley Town. Bringing Chaos to the counter, Spike yelled and went to move the wine. Very rude. What's the price for a room? The smoking boss turned over the account book in his hand without raising his head. The most luxurious. A lump of gold appeared in Chaos's hand, about the size of a fist. This time the smoking boss raised his head. The turbid gaze suddenly became sharp. You can only stay for 5 days. The food is counted separately, and the damages are 10 times the compensation. If you have any trouble, you'd better go out and solve it. The smoking boss tossed gold, put it in the counter and took out something similar to a room card, and then explained the rules of the shop. Chaos took the room card and nodded. Trace. Trace. Where did you die? Take this guest upstairs, the most luxurious room. The smoking boss yelled at the hall. Boss, you must die in front of me. Remember to give me the property when you die, or I will throw your body into the sea. A loud voice caught Chaos's gaze. A 3-meter-high, bloated and murderous weapon was turbulent, with a centipede scar across her face, wearing nondescript overalls, a gun on her waist, and a big axe on her back. She came over, unceremoniously hoping that the smoking boss would die sooner. She is good to inherit the inheritance. Asshole Tracy, I will definitely live longer than you. The smoking boss burst into anger. HMPH, see who persists longer. Tracy turned her head to look at Chaos and waved, follow me. Following this tonnage, Chaos could still hear the muttering curse. On the 5th floor, the most luxurious room is as tall as it is said, but it is actually a daily room with a separate bathroom, a larger area, and a matching sofa. There is a balcony on the side, overlooking the sea in the back mountain. It costs 100,000 Baileys a day, without food, and can only be said to be a pirate island that is drunk and fanciful. But Chaos lacked everything, just not money. I looked around the room, settled down a little bit, and then went downstairs again to have something to eat. There is no door-to-door service here. If you want to eat, go downstairs to the lobby. As for Tracy, who took Chaos to the door and left, she was very busy. There are only 4 people in the entire hotel: the smoking owner, 2 heavy-tonnage waiters Spike, Tracy, and the chef Bud. It is hard to imagine that such a large restaurant will be revitalized by these 4 people. There is no doubt that the 4 of them were once pirates. I just don't know why I settled down in Magic Valley and retired. Returning to the smoky hall, Chaos was still somewhat uncomfortable, but still within the range of tolerance. Aside from other things, this noisy atmosphere is pretty good, and it's easy for people to forget unhappy things. What do you need? Spike was still dragging his mace, beating and scolding with other table pirates fiercely and violently, thinking that he was the guest if he didn't know it. The other pirates are also cursing, or else laughing like crazy. None of these are normal. Your signature dish: first serve 20 people, in addition, 2 bottles of the most expensive wine. Wait. Spike didn't even look at Sows, so he recorded his voice to the kitchen, then brought Sows to 2 bottles of red wine and went to the other table. I'm not afraid that Chaos can't afford to pay after eating. After all, Chaos had only one end at that time, and that was being sold as a slave by this restaurant. Simple and rude rules of conduct are very effective. Chaos was tasting the red wine while listening to the bragging conversation of the pirates in the hall. The Pirate in the Sea has become famous recently. What about Marine? All kinds of news and trivia are very interesting. The most important news is the news of Roger Pirates, Whitebeard, Golden Lion, Lonely Red, Iron Fist Garp, and Sengoku of Buddha. There are also many rookies or sharp-edged people. After listening to the information, Chaos didn't feel bored, and the food came quickly. Right here. At this moment, more than 30 pirates stood watching the hotel plaque. The head was a man wearing an open-breasted coat with lush chest hair, thick eyebrows and a few scars on his big eyes, and a 3-pistol pinned to his waist. The fluffy lion-like hair is extremely eye-catching. Tropical hotel, a bit uncomfortable. Yes, we have already investigated that guy. He only came to the island today. There are no other accomplices. Someone saw that guy enter this restaurant and never came out. A buck-toothed pirate next to him spoke, and at a glance, he knew that he was engaged in intelligence. Master Gappa, you must avenge me. The previous beard was wrapped in bandages, and his face was pale and sick, and he had moved the backstage out. That guy must die today. Go and ask the kid to come out. Although this guy is just a dog, it's also covered by lousy. Gappa snorted. What he cared about was not being beaten on the cheeks, but about beating the dog without looking at the owner. In Demon Valley Town, he is still a bit famous. If this spreads out and is beaten by his subordinates, and he is indifferent, how will he be mixed up in the future? How do those subordinates follow him? When you come out, you want face. But Gappa is not stupid. He knows that there are many pirate groups or strong men in Demon Valley Town that he can't afford to offend, so he sent someone to investigate in advance. Yes. A pirate ran into the hotel, facing the smoky hall with a voice. Who is the Golden Emperor Gaia Chaos? Our Captain Lion King Gappa is looking for you. The pirate swept across the quiet hall arrogantly, with arrogance and disdain in his eyes. Lion King Gappa? The one offering a reward of 53 million? Who is the Golden Emperor? The title is quite arrogant. Never heard of that. Is it famous? The hall, which was quiet for a few seconds, suddenly became lively. All the pirates had a look at the play. Who is Golden Emperor Gaia Chaos? I won't be surprised to hear our captain's name. Seeing no one responded, the pirate's face was full of disdain. Whoever is the one he is looking for, consciously point out to solve the problem, and don't disturb Lousy's business. Although the smoking boss on the counter was speaking to the whole hall, his eyes remained on Chaos at last. Only this guy is the most suspicious. Chaos slowly swallowed the food in his mouth, then finished the red wine in his glass, put his hands in kabuto, stood up and walked towards the pirate. The story goes that the pirate glanced up and down at Chaos. His appearance was similar to what he described as a beard. The guy they were looking for. Boy, dare to provoke our Lion King pirate group, and be prepared to be crushed by our captain. The pirate sneered again and again, as if he had seen the tragedy of Chaos being pinched to death by Gappa. Without a glance, Chaos passed by the pirate who passed the story, walked out of the gate and looked at the number 30 pirates outside, and there were a lot of spectators around him. "Are you the Golden Emperor Gaia Chaos?" Lion King Gappa coldly smirked and grinned cruelly. "The name is quite arrogant. Those who dare to kill me will look for death." "Are you famous?" Chaos put his hands on his shoulders, his contemptuous eyes made Gappa angrily grinned. "Boy, there is a way to keep up." Gappa turned around and left after speaking. He is a principled pirate. Fighting here will suffer a lot. If something breaks something, those greedy guys will surely make him pay 100-fold, and the gain will not be worth the loss. If you were to be a powerful pirate, you wouldn't care about these at all, and you would fight there if you want to fight. And those greedy guys dare not even fart. Chaos looked around, looking at him with a lot of playful eyes. In such a circumstance of the audience's attention, the figure of Chaos soared into the sky, passing directly by the Lion King and pirate group and leaving the town first. Now the whole street is a little quieter. The Lion King Gappa is still standing in his footsteps. Flight. It's not like Marine 6 Styles moonwalk. It's probably also demon fruit power. Looking at it, the Lion King Gappa may have kicked the iron plate. This is more interesting. Catch up. This guy called the Golden Emperor is a bit high profile. Is there any high profile strength? I'll know right away. This hand of chaos really made many people put away their previous contempt. The strong are always high profile. How else would others know if they are strong? But high profile is easy to attract hatred, but Chaos's fruiting ability is destined to be impossible to low-key. Everyone came out for power, wealth, and fame. Now Chaos initially has the strength to match the high profile. I spent more than 3 years before, isn't it just for the high profile life in the future? Not to mention, it's cool, but be careful of being beaten to death. Falling from the air, Chaos finally stood on the ground 3 feet off the ground. Looks handsome and free and easy, with a kind of inexplicable sense of heroism. Chaos may not be very handsome, but it is definitely the kind of look resistant, wearing a white shirt, a gray jacket over the outside, a pair of black trousers on his lower body, and his shoes shiny and shiny. The hair is neat and tidy on one end, a bunch of bangs are left in front of his forehead, but the sunshine is a bit harsh. For almost 2 or 3 minutes, the Lion King Gappa brought more than 30 subordinates, followed by many pirates watching the show. Gappa didn't counsel him either. He took off his coat to reveal his majestic chest, and his muscles walked up to Chaos with his bare hands, and there was a clicking sound from moving his neck. Buy it. The Lion King 100,000 Baileys. Lousy bet the Golden Emperor with 300,000 Baileys. With the ability to fly, he can definitely be invincible. I think it's a parallel import. Lousy bet the Lion King to lose. A group of poor ghosts. Lousy bet 500,000 Berry Lion King. Then Lousy bet the Golden Emperor. Before the battle started, some of the pirates who watched the show began to bet their bets. Generally speaking, there are more betting on the Lion King. After all, everyone has heard of the Lion King in Demon Valley Town, but Chaos has no reputation. If it hadn't missed his flying ability, there might be fewer people holding him. In the field, Gappa's body swelled suddenly, his hair grew, his physique continued to grow taller, and he became a human-shaped lion as he roared. The limbs are strong and sharp claws ling-ling. Buttocks flicks a tail, billowing beast breath rushes toward his face, and the surrounding sand is majestic and majestic. As soon as he came up, Gappa entered into a semi-beast type. Although he was disdainful of Chaos on the surface, he was already wary in his heart. Appeared, Zone Cat Fruit Male Lion Form. Is this the ability of Devil Fruit? Zone may be able to increase various defenses, offensive powers and resilience. The situation is hard to say. This Golden Emperor may also be demon fruit power, most likely Paramecia. With Gappa's transformation like this, it caused a lot of uproar. You must know that the secret treasure of the sea, Devil Fruit, has a price but no market. Even the most trash can be auctioned for more than 100 million Baileys. Not everyone can afford it. That is a very luxurious fruit. Some people may never know what Devil Fruit is the secret treasure of the sea. But what is certain is that as long as you eat a devil fruit, you can immediately have power beyond ordinary people. This is an important shortcut to gain strength and change destiny. Boy, I want to tear you apart. In the field, Gappa looked at Chaos condescendingly, his ferocious and cruel face, like a shadow covering the sun. Chaos felt a little bit of pressure. His guess is correct. Only this kind of strong can make him progress, like the fangs and beards before, it can't make him feel strong at all. Either you beat me to death, or you were beaten to death by me. Chaos fluttered his head vertically, and his hands were cold and proud. Very arrogant. Complete you. The fierce roar pierced the eardrums, and Gapana's right paw, which was thicker than the thigh, struck like lightning and pointed directly at Chaos's throat, which was obviously going to kill with one blow. Chaos, who was already tensed and ready, made a fist with his right hand for the first time, and blasted forward without dodge or hide. There was a huge collision, and some cracks were torn in the ground under the feet of the two. Chaos couldn't stop backing 2 steps, and he could feel the pain in his fist. Gappa's huge mouth was full of sneers, and his strong legs didn't move. Huh. The sound of breaking through the air slammed into the air. Gappa struck forward and swept across the army with his right foot. Chaos leaned back, but Gappa was faster, turning around with his 5-fingered claws like a sharp sickle, grabbing Chaos's chest in one fell swoop. Go. Chaos moved very fast, so he leaned back and rotated 360 degrees in midair to avoid him, and then he supported the ground with his left hand and closed his feet, like a cannonball blasting into Gappa's chest. The dull collision was even bigger than the last time. Gappa's elbows were ruggedly blocked in front of his chest, and his feet were sunken in the ground and moved horizontally, leaving 2 traces. Chaos stood up, and appeared in front of Gappa across a distance of 5 meters in the blink of an eye, hitting a left uppercut that shook the air. Gappa's eyes were full of sorrow, and Chaos' speed was beyond his expectation. He didn't expect it to be so fast. However, Gappa is not muddled. At any rate, he also offered a reward of 53 million. With the blessing of Zone, the reaction ability is absolutely very fast. Gappa stooped and dodged at the first time, and at the same time came a sweeping leg. Although Chaos jumped and avoided, Gappa was prepared, clenched his fists and punched the defense made by Chaos with his arms folded. Chaos couldn't help but withdrew following a wind and wave, and fell into a disadvantage. Huh. Chaos breathed a sigh of relief, and he learned a lot from these 2 or 3 tricks. The opponent's fighting ability and reaction ability are better than him. It is a perfect whetstone. This makes Chaos's fighting spirit more exciting than ever, and he will definitely grow after this battle. Using the shave to disappear in place, Chaos took the lead in launching an attack, intending to fight Gappa. Come on, Captain, I bet all the money. Kill that guy who doesn't live or die. Dare to provoke our Lion King pirates. Many pirates on the periphery are making noises. Now the Lion King Gappa clearly has the upper hand, suppressing the Golden Emperor one after another. The latter can only passively defend and is losing ground. Many pirates think that Gappa is set to win. Interesting newcomer. However, there are also pirates with sharp eyes. For example, in a house not far away, a middle-aged man in casual clothes is wearing a round rubber cap and 2 sickle weapons hung around his waist. Looking at the almost suppressed battle in the field, a touch of surprise was revealed. Reaper Thesis, can you see it too? There were also many pirates standing on the other houses. One of them, a fat man in a black suit and smoking a cigar, turned his head to look at Thesis. This guy is offering a reward of 93 million, and he is also a Paramecia Scythe fruit ability, a Lone Ranger. Pradonite did not expect to meet here. Bloodthorn Pradonite, a reward of 89 million yuan. Thesis looked back at the fat man, and he could see the identity of him at a glance. This fat man is a cruel master. He is Paramecia Thorn fruit ability. I heard that he killed a Marine colonel some time ago. He was being chased by Sakazuki Rear Admiral, one of Marine's 3 Logia monsters. He did not expect to appear in the Demon Valley town. Do you want to gamble on who will survive? Pradonite flicked his cigar ashes, leisurely pointing at the battle between Chaos and Gappa in the field. Didn't you see it? I believe Madara Horsekiller Barn X and Camel Tepieru can also see it. Thesis the Reaper folded his shoulders and looked at the other 2 people on the roof. One is a man in a black and white striped jacket, and the other is a man in long shoes. Madara Horsekiller Barn X, offering a reward of 81 million, Zone Horse Fruit Madara Horse Form. Camel Tepieru, with a reward of 79 million, Zone Horse Fruit Camel Form. Unexpectedly, it was just a very ordinary battle that would lead to these 4 powerhouses. That kid is actually practicing with the Lion King Gappa, which is very interesting. Camel Tepieru sat on the roof with Erlang's legs tilted, and his face coldly pointed out the battle between Chaos and Gappa. Too weak. Madara Horsekiller Barn X looked arrogant, with contempt in his eyes. In his opinion, whether it is the Lion King Gappa or Chaos, they are too weak. Haha. It is said that the Madara Horsekiller is arrogant, as expected. Thesis, the Reaper with the highest reward among the 4, looked at the Madara Horsekiller with a playful look. You can't beat the guy named Golden Emperor in the end. HMPH, I don't mind killing you now. first believed Marine would be happy to receive the Reaper's head with a reward of 93 million. This is the pirate realm, which fills the air without the smell of gunpowder at all. I'm not teasing you. You can try it after this battle is over. If you can kill the Golden Emperor, I will give you 50 million Baileys. Theseus shrugged, calmly, not irritated by Madara Horsekiller's words. I like this bet. Don't mind if I bet Madara Horsekiller to win. The same as 50 million. Bloodthorn Pratonite interjected with smoke rings. Madara Horsekiller, 30 million. Even Camel Tepieru spoke, with a cold expression on his face. 50 million. I laughed at it. The Madara Horsekiller glanced at Theseus, and then looked at the scene of the battle with a fierce look at the corner of his mouth. This is the law of the jungle of the weak and the strong. Chaos didn't know that he was being targeted, or in such a few words, he had never even heard of Madara Horsekiller and others. There was no grievance between the two sides, but the four determined the future of Chaos just like watching a play. Boom. Chaos moved his feet deep into the ground, panting heavily after leaving a 10-meter mark, and a trace of blood spilled from the corner of his mouth. There was hot sweat on his forehead, and he looked a little embarrassed. The face of Gappa on the opposite side was very embarrassed. He found that the opponent's defense was a bit scary, even more terrifying than him. For example, the place where the shirt and trousers are wrapped seems to be wearing steel, and there is no sensuality in a punch on it. The only weakness of the other party is the head and the exposed double fists. Gappa didn't feel wrong, because it was the golden inner armor. Tui. Chaos spit out the blood in his mouth and beckoned to Gappa provocatively. From the beginning of a little rush, now he has mastered some rhythm, and he is growing through battle. 2 snorts from the tip of Gappa's nose, anger soaring, and his claws gleamed with cold light. The sharp claws of almost a decimeter are like sharp knives, which can easily snatch a tree with a thick thigh. He became a little impatient. It was a great shame that he hadn't taken the opponent down after more than 10 minutes. Boom. With continuous attacks, Gappa's claws slashed back and forth, and Chaos kept turning back and flipping to avoid it. From time to time, he disappeared with shaving. But Gappa's reaction ability is very strong. It is possible that animals are naturally aware of danger, so Chaos there are some limitations to shave. The main thing is to shave and not cultivate home. If you switch to Garp, Gappa might die without knowing how he died. Smelly mouse that can only avoid. Gappa looked fierce. After swiping both paws one after another, he kicked Chaos's chest. With the dull sound, Chaos couldn't help but withdrew, but his face was not flushed or breathing, and he was not affected at all. Booming. The ground shook and the mud splashed, and Chaos used the shave to disappear in place, and Gappa appeared in the next second, and the whole lion's right arm went deep into the ground, looking at Chaos viciously like an angry lion. The opponent is like a cunning loach, slippery. Chaos is not the kind of passive defense, disappearing one after another and suddenly appearing behind Gappa, with a thunderous voice on one foot. The dull collision sounded, and Gappa's tail, which had never been used, suddenly swept around Chaos's big feet, and quickly lifted Chaos to the ground. Chaos's face changed, his hands clasped his head and exploded, and a pit with a diameter of more than 30 meters appeared on the ground, but this was just the beginning. Gappa laughed wildly and kept carrying Chaos back and forth, his tail entangled like a whip. Boom. For a time the dust was flying, and the surrounding ground quickly cracked and sank, and a lot of mud splashed out like bullets. A few back and forth made Chaos a little dizzy, and he couldn't stop the bleeding in his mouth and nose. He was careless. Now we have to use capacity. However, Chaos did not choose to gold, but stretched out his right hand to spread out a golden long sword, which quickly formed and cut towards Gappa's tail. Ah! A miserable and painful voice came out of Gappa's mouth. The thick tail was not too hard, and it was cut off and fell on the ground. Bloodline Madara. Gapar looked away at his broken tail, his eyes began to be bloodshot, and the lush hair on his neck exploded. Ahem. Chaos knelt on one knee with the golden sword, wiped off his nosebleed and wiped it to the ground, stood up and looked at Gappa coldly. This guy actually forced him to use the fruit ability, but it didn't matter. Anyway, his melee combat ability has been tempered almost, so he needs to find a stronger enemy. The value of Gappa is not as important as it was at the beginning. Now Chaos is more certain, in fact, he is not weak. What is missing is the combat experience. You are also capable. Gappa's voice was hoarse, and he could feel the intense murderous intent. The pirates who watched from the periphery were also taken aback. No one could see how the golden long sword in Chaos's hand appeared. Turn a bit faster. They can see clearly that there is no place where Chaos has hidden weapons. This golden long sword is at least 1 decimeter wide and 1.3 meters long. It can be said to be a golden giant sword. If there is such a big sword hidden in his body, it is impossible not to see it. It should be Paramecia. The 4 Madara horse killers on the roof eliminated Zone and Logia in the first place. Only Paramecia has so many weird abilities. What it is, it needs to be observed. Chaos didn't speak, but looked at Gappa coldly. Even if you are capable, you must die. Gappa was completely enraged and became violent, and his momentum increased. The mud under his feet splashed like an arrow from the string, and the speed was faster than before. Chaos took a step backwards, the golden giant sword suspended in front of his chest. His hands were pulled into 5 small golden long swords, and then they slammed out with the sound of howling, with a sense of sight of swordsmanship. Gappa's pupils shrank when he rushed out, and the time around him seemed to be slow. Zone's dynamic vision increased to ultimate. Gappa dodged between the electric flint and flint, evading 4 golden swords. But the 5th one was still injured, and a bloody wound appeared on his right cheek. If you look closely, you will find that the wound is slowly healing. It's just that some can't be seen. For this kind of injury, it only takes half an hour to give Gappa, to ensure that even scars will not be left. If I change to an ordinary person, there will be no half a month or a month to stop thinking about healing. If Gappa develops this fruit deeper, or even awakens, maybe 2 or 3 breaths will resume as before. It is obvious that Gappa has not yet developed to that level. Puff. Gappa escaped the 5 golden swords, but Chaos would not stand stupidly, and immediately appeared in front of Gappa with a shave. His right foot was heavily kicked on his chest. The next moment Gappa showed pain on his face. Tumbling constantly on the ground and finally hitting the end, Chunin couldn't help vomiting blood. Obviously this kick is uncomfortable, thanks to Zone's bonus resistance. Gapar did not have time to breathe, and quickly rolled on the spot, and 5 golden long swords fell behind one after another, and only the sword target was left outside when he went deep into the ground. Chaos chased after victory, leaned back with his right foot and rolled up a large piece of dirt and kicked Gappa's head. Gappa covered his head with both hands in the short run, and then flew out again with great power. Shoo! The 5 golden long swords lifted and swung like bullets as Chaos lifted them, and at the same time they kept using shavings to approach them one after another, which was not giving any breathing space. Ding ding ding. The golden sword kept bursting into the ground, and Gappa could only evade in embarrassment. With his defense, he could not resist the sharp edge of the golden sword. Puff. Dodging the golden sword but not the big feet of Chaos, Gappa spurted blood and pain in his mouth as the bones squeaked, leaving a trace again rolling on the ground. Now the child can see that Gappa is not an opponent of Chaos. If it was said that Gappa pressed Chaos before, then as Chaos used his abilities, the situation had been reversed. Shoo! The sound of shooting suddenly sounded outside the field, and 1 bullet shot at Chaos, making Chaos forced to stop the attack. It is a member of the Lion King pirate group. Kill him. Rush! These pirates were in a hurry, and even shamelessly put down their guns, and were ready to bully the less. Chaos is very calm, just need to be careful of his head. Even if 1 or 2 bullets hit his chest, it is useless. There is still a part of the golden inner armor, but it is a little thin. But the gold was refined by Chaos, and the bullet shot on it did not even leave a mark. Chaos raised 5 golden long swords in the air with his right hand, and as the voice of the golden horse and iron horse quickly differentiated, forming golden needles 1 decimeter in length, all the pirates who had rushed forward stopped and their complexion changed. Panicked. Run. I don't know who screamed, and more than 30 pirates disappeared. But with the pressure of Chaos's right hand, the hundreds of golden needles fell indiscriminately like rain with a dense cracking sound. Ah, help! It couldn't be resisted at all. Some people had pinholes in their heads, and they didn't even feel the pain for the first time. They all screamed and wailed as the blood and brains overflowed. Maybe the wound was relatively small, so there was no immediate death, but a lot of torture. The original pirates who watched the show had long since ran away. Now when I look back at the pirates who are wailing on the ground and the surrounding ground is full of tiny pinholes, all my body trembles. Among them, those with intensive phobia are even more terrifying. Go to hell. At this moment, Gappa appeared behind Chaos, and the right claw Han grabbed the back of his neck in one fell swoop. His face was filled with a fierce grin of success. But the next moment Gappa's face became stiff, and a piece of gold suddenly rose up behind Chaos, firmly shielding the entire head, and the sharp claws splashed sparks on it, and even left scratches. But no blood appeared. Puff, Gappa's body was bent into dried shrimps, his entire face quickly turned red and purple, his eyes turned white, and his mouth continued to spurt blood. After a single blow, Chaos kicked deep into Gappa's abdomen. With a huge force, it turned into a cannonball and flew out. A large piece of mud exploded again and again. Chaos raised his hand to the ground, and the golden needles deep in the ground all rose into the sky and quickly merged into one again to become 5 golden long swords, leaving 5 beautiful trajectories in the air and quickly shooting towards Gappa. What? A miserable and painful wailing roared from Gappa's mouth. He was embarrassed and avoided the first 4, but the last one nailed him to the ground. Hot blood stained the ground, and Gappa's blood-stained face was full of fear of death. The 4 golden long swords inserted into the ground stood on top of his head again, not even giving Gappa a chance to beg for mercy. With the light pressure of Chaos's right hand, the 4 golden long swords fell and Gappa's chest was nailed to pieces. Ends. As Gappa gradually lost his signs of life, Chaos took a breath. This battle consumes a lot of physical strength. Also injured, but not seriously injured. The danger came in vain. Chaos didn't even want to stop him with his right hand. With the sound of a whip leg breaking through the air, he only felt a heavy truck hit, and the huge force caused his arm to hit his face in the opposite direction. I feel that the bridge of my nose is broken. Flying out and hitting the ground, constantly rolling, Chaos resisted the pain and quickly climbed up. A figure appeared in the original position without knowing when, and his right foot was still in an attacking position. This is a very thin man, wearing a black and white striped jacket. His face is full of playfulness and disdain. Responsiveness is good. It was none other than the Madara horse-killer Barncase who made a bet against Chaos. The reward is 81 million, far more than the reward of the Lion King Gappa. That seems to be the Madara horse-killer Barn X, who is offering a reward of 81 million. Why did he suddenly attack the Golden Emperor? Many pirates in the distance exclaimed, apparently recognizing Barncase. This is a pirate who is higher than the reward offered by the Lion King Gappa. The good show is not over yet. The Golden Emperor has to fight with the Lion King, and his physical strength must be consumed a lot. The Madara horse-killer and the Lion King are not at the same level. I think the Golden Emperor is in danger. The Golden Emperor is dead. No pirate is optimistic about Chaos. The strength gap lies there, and the battle with the Lion King must have consumed a lot of physical strength. To put it bluntly, who knew Chaos before killing the Lion King? Now killed the Lion King. The name of the Golden Emperor is considered a fledgling, but it is about to die soon. The Golden Emperor, this name is a bit arrogant. I bet the 3 Reapers, he said you could kill me, I don't believe it. The Madara horse-killer folded his shoulders and tilted his head to the roof in the distance. It was the 3 guys watching the play, Thesis the Reaper, Pratinit the Bloodthorn, and Camel Tepieru. Chaos looked gloomy, looking at Madara horse-killer's black eyes with coldness. The golden long sword inserted into Gappa's body was suspended in the air. The body of the sword was dyed red and dripping with blood, standing beside Chaos and aiming at the Madara horse-killer. It seems your ability is to manipulate some metals. Being pointed at by 5 bloody golden swords, the Madara horse-killer didn't panic. Instead, he began to analyze the capabilities of Chaos. From the battle to the present, Chaos has never converted his physique into gold, but only manipulates the golden sword split from the inner armor of the gold, which is quite misleading. At least now, many pirates think it is the ability to manipulate metals. It is hard to think of golden fruits for a while, unless there is a pirate who has heard of the existence or function of golden fruits. Devil Fruit's abilities are ever-changing, with all kinds of weird abilities. This is also in the town of Devil Valley. There are many pirates traveling north and south. If they are replaced with a more remote island, they may not even know what Devil Fruit and the sea treasure are. The pirate who is watching the play now is only in decimals after all. The real bosses in Demon Valley are not interested in watching this kind of low-level battle. Facing the speculation of the Madara horse-killer, Chaos listened to the exclamation of the pirates outside, and hummed down the donkey. Chaos lifted his shirt to reveal the golden inner armor inside. With a move of his mind, all floated in the air and quickly split into 10 new golden swords, aiming at the Madara horse-killer along with the 5 blood-stained swords. The atmosphere began to become depressed. As a gust of wind blew Chaos's vertical hair, 15 long swords flew out like bullets at such a speed that even the air was torn apart. But Madara horse-killer is very indifferent. When the first golden sword approached, the Madara horse-killer took a step to the left. As if he had expected it, he turned sideways or stepped one step after another, and hid the remaining 14 golden swords. Very dreamy and incredible. This evasive ability is easy and impartial. Chaos narrowed his eyes slightly, guessing a possibility. 81 million and 53 million are really different, and every 10 million is a gap. It can be said that the treasure of the King of Chaos, that is, the technique of turning into a golden sword, golden needle, or other 18 weapons to shoot the enemy like a bullet, Chaos is collectively referred to as the treasure of the king. After all, these moves were all learned from Gilgamesh. The opponent's evasion ability can be said to have weakened the king's treasure by more than half. No matter how powerful the move is, it's useless if you can't attack the target. Seeing and hearing color. Chaos' voice trembled a little. Looking at the Madara Horsekiller was like looking at a peerless treasure. Somewhat knowledgeable. Madara Horsekiller is very proud. You have to know that not everyone can have the sight and taste. If there is no haki in the pirate world, even if devil fruit is strong, there will be weaknesses. It's okay in the Grand Line, but if in the New World, haki is a standard feature that every powerhouse must equip, otherwise it won't enter the market. But it was too difficult to awaken haki. Chaos has been cultivating for 3 years and 5 months, and even though his innate body has been strengthened by his journey through, he still hasn't awakened haki. One can imagine how difficult it is to want master haki. This is the existence of panacea. If you want to be famous in the sea, haki must be a master. Since the Madara Horsekiller has seen and heard the master, it shows that the talent is very good. It is not unreasonable to be able to offer a reward of 81 million Baileys. Chaos has been looking forward to meeting the pirate who will meet haki, but he didn't expect the surprise to come so soon. Must catch him alive. Chaos suddenly became greedy, making Madara Horsekiller frowning slightly. He is a hunter, but how can he feel like a prey now? Ding ding. 15 golden long swords lifted into the sky, quickly encircling Chaos from toe to head and transformed into a golden armor, all in one piece of gold under the shining of the sun. At the same time, the body under the golden battle armor is all golden, with dual defenses on the outside and the inside, stacking the last armor, resisting the most venomous attack. He has exhausted a lot of physical strength now, and he must solve the opponent as soon as possible. Chaos wanted to use injury for injury, and unexpectedly severely wounded the Madara Horsekiller. I have to say it's a bit spicy. Chaos disappeared in place, and appeared in front of the Madara Horsekiller with a series of flashes. The golden feet carried a violent wind, vigorously and mightily. Speed and flexibility are not hindered in the slightest. This is the most terrible. Faced with such a rapid attack, Madara Horsekiller's face changed slightly. His right hand only had time to stop in front of him. The next moment a huge force struck. His arm could not resist the reverse bombardment on his face, and the ground under his feet exploded and turned his whole person into a cannonball. A large piece of mud and dust was rolled up. Shoo. 5 1-decimeter golden long swords were stripped from Chaos, and they chased out like arrows. At the same time, Chaos kept flashing and quickly approached. Madara's Horsekiller moved quickly. He jumped up with one hand and changed on his body. A mouthful of blood came out of his mouth and went backwards one after another. The ground in front of him was penetrated by 5 golden swords like tofu. Boom. The golden fist collided with the black and white striped hoof, and a gust of wind appeared for the first time, and the ground under the feet of the two people continued to crack and spread out from the cracks in the spiderweb, with great momentum. Chaos looked at the human-shaped Madara horse close at hand. It was really a Madara Horsekiller. At first glance, it is known as Zone Mahor's fruit Madara horse form. Boy, you are dead. Madara's Horsekiller's egg-sized horse's eyes were full of anger, and it was a shame to not notice that he even vomited blood. What was ushered in was the golden left fist of Chaos, and it was covered with golden needles. Boom. Fist strength formed an impact and continued to roll around the ground. Both of them turned into shadows and attacked, and they were evenly matched in strength. And Madara's Horsekiller's hooves were very stiff, and the golden needles on Chaos's fists couldn't break the defense at all. The dull explosion continued to sound. A sunken hoofmark appeared on the left face of Chaos's head, and a wound appeared on the chest of the Madara Horsekiller, dripping with blood. Chaos can quickly turn into a weapon all over his body. If Madara Horsekiller is not a good one, he may be already riddled with holes. The golden feet stretched out to form a javelin, and Chaos violently kicked out the Madara Horsekiller, who had a fierce face and easily escaped. But Chaos's attack did not end. 5 golden-inch swords flew up into the sky from the ground, specifically targeting the lower body and eyes of the Madara Horsekiller. In an emergency, the Madara Horsekiller jumped back and forth, and his face was very ugly after dodge one after another. Despicable and shameless guy. He is very annoyed. The opponent's ability is too difficult. Melee combat is like a hedgehog. He is a zone-capable person and does not have long-range attacks, but the opponent has. With the cooperation of melee and long-range attacks, the opponent has no weaknesses. He seriously underestimated the opponent, and now he plays to know what the Lion King Gappa faced before. Ha. The Golden Inch sword was interfering, and chaos descended like a tiger, and at the same time spikes appeared on his golden armor, completely ignoring dodge and only attacked. Damn it. The Madara Horsekiller is a little rushed even if he has seen and heard. Not only must he be careful of the Golden Inch sword, but also be careful of being approached by chaos. This guy has spikes all over his body, so he can't put his mouth down. Puff. The sound of a sharp weapon piercing the flesh and blood, Madara Horsekiller slammed Chaos's forehead with a hoof, but Chaos didn't even want to hide. His right fist spread out half a meter of golden spikes, and he stabbed Madara Horsekiller's chest abruptly. It's just that the other party's fur is very thick, and it just stabbed in 5 centimeters, avoiding the critical moment at the critical moment. From this defense alone, we can see the gap between Madara Horsekiller and Lion King Gappa. You know that zone carnivorous type is better than herbivorous type. Damn its kid. The Madara Horsekiller roared under the blood stimulation, but Chaos suddenly appeared 5 spikes in his chest, which didn't give the Madara Horsekiller time to retreat. In one fell swoop, he left a Madara blood hole in the Madara Horsekiller's chest. But none of these hurt the vitals. Chaos needs a live Madara Horsekiller, not a dead one. The lock of the sky. The 4 Golden Inch swords are intertwined and turned into chains. At the same time, the golden armor of Chaos spreads to the Madara Horse Assassin like liquid. It is integrated into a golden chain like a giant python is constantly entangled, and the Madara Horse Assassin is directly entangled, bundled into Zongzi. The key is that there are tiny barbs spreading inside the golden chain, which rotates into the flesh and blood like a gear, and it only takes a moment to see the blood flowing from the crevices of the chain. When the golden armor left his body, Chaos also restored his golden physique to normal. The Madara Horsekiller was struggling, unable to even scream. But these golds are the essence refined by Chaos. The strength of the Madara Horsekiller is obviously not enough to break. The key is the barb inside the chain. The Madara Horsekiller struggles, the more painful it becomes. This trick is a bit vicious, but the victory has a miraculous effect. The remaining Golden Inch sword split into 2 1 foot off the ground, and Chaos jumped up, holding the golden chain in one hand, and flew into the sky, quickly disappearing from the sight of the crowd. Many pirates who watched the show were all dumbfounded. Wasn't they evenly matched a second before the battle? It's over in a blink of an eye. The key is that Madara, the Horsekiller Barn X, who offered a reward of 81 million Baileys, was defeated. How is it possible? That is the Madara Horsekiller who offers a reward of 81 million Baileys. Many pirates couldn't believe it. Remember the Bailey you owe me. Reaper Thesis retracted his gaze from the horizon, looking at the 2 blood thorns and camel tapiru. His faces did not have the joy of winning, but a little solemn. He didn't expect Madara Horsekiller to lose so soon. Although it was the Golden Emperor who took it by surprise, defeat is defeated. In addition, the Golden Emperor's ability is difficult to entangle. Putting aside the Devil Fruit ability, the Golden Emperor will definitely not be the opponent of the Madara Horsekiller. This time the Madara Horsekiller lost. It was the opponent's Devil Fruit ability, not the others. What is certain is that the name of the Golden Emperor will soon spread to the town of Magic Valley. After all, it is the Lion King and Madara Horsekiller. Deep in the mountains and old forests behind Demon Valley Town. People here are also rare. Although Magic Valley Town is only a part of Sky Island, the area is still very large. Chaos flew across the sky with the Madara Horsekiller, and finally fell in a waterfall and mountain stream, which was a pretty good place. Chaos is very excited. The Madara Horsekiller is related to whether he can successfully cultivate his experience. In fact, Chaos is very talented because of the crossing, but why can't he touch the threshold of seeing, hearing, or armed in such a long time? That is one direction, a clear guide. Like 6 techniques, Chaos has an exact direction. Shave more than 10 times in 0.36 seconds, Iron Body is beaten, Paper Arts is dodging, Finger Pistol is constantly poking, and Tempest Kick is constantly kicking. Following these directions, when you reach a critical point, you will naturally succeed in your cultivation. But Haki is different. This thing is equivalent to the internal force in martial arts. You don't even know how to practice the secrets and the 8 meridians of the odd meridian. A very simple truth. Just like window paper, you will never know the outside world unless you pierce it. What Chaos lacked now was that someone led him to pierce the window paper and guide him in the right direction. At that time, Chaos only needed to keep going in that direction, and eventually he would reach his destination. If there is no sense of direction, Chaos may have been circling on the spot all his life, let alone reaching the end. The golden chain turned, and Madara's Horsekiller's head was exposed, bloodstained, and it looked miserable. Damn bastard, what do you want to do? Although Madara Horsekiller was angry, he did not lose his mind. This guy didn't kill him in the first time, so there must be value in him, which means that he has the possibility of surviving. This time I was careless. No one is an idiot who can get the price of 81 million pirates. Otherwise, he would die early. Chaos looked calm and didn't speak for the first time. The whole body is tight and has been vigilant. This time he grabbed the opponent entirely by tricks. If it weren't for the surprise of Jin Jin Guo, he really is not this guy's opponent. The current 81 million is equivalent to 100 million or even 200 million in the future, and the combat effectiveness is real. Although it was a trick, Chaos was already a genius for being so strong in just 3 years and 5 months. But compared to those predecessors who have cheats, Chaos is really just a scum. For 3 years and 5 months, they are estimated to have been fighting 4 emperors, crushing Marine Admiral, and unifying the world of pirates. Even Luffy is better than him. They have been clashing with 4 emperors for 3 years. I want to know how you awakened to see and hear. Chaos was silent for a moment, without turning around, staring into the eyes of the Madara Horsekiller. Haha. Do you want to get away to practice seeing, hearing and sex from me? The Madara Horsekiller was taken aback first, then laughed. At the same time, he breathed a sigh of relief. As long as you have value, you can buy time. Although he is arrogant, it does not mean that he has a flawed IQ. The desire to survive is still very strong. If I can practice successfully, I will let you go. Chaos coldly ignored Madara's Horsekiller's laugh. He only valued seeing and hearing. The Madara Horsekiller smiled and became silent, and at last he was silent with blood on his face. I don't want to force you to speak through torture. You tell me everything about seeing, hearing, and sex. If I succeed in cultivation, I will let you go. Everyone will get what they need. It's a very good deal. It can be seen that Wensei is not awakened by anyone who wants to awaken. What if you can't awaken for a year, 10 years, or a lifetime? The Madara Horsekiller didn't want to be tortured, and he didn't hate Chaos's straightforwardness. 1 year, if I can't wake up within 1 year, I will still let you go. Chaos stretched out a finger, sonorous and confident. Keep your word. The Madara Horsekiller stared at Chaos, as if he could see through Chaos's heart. Do you have a choice? Good. The Madara Horsekiller also knew his situation, and really had no choice. But as long as there is a chance, he will seize it. In other words, Chaos will do the same. Aren't you going to untie me? Chaos just watched the Madara Horsekiller silently, but the barb in the golden chain disappeared. This made Madara Horsekiller look sarcastically. He didn't know whether he should be happy or cry when the other party was so wary. Actually, I haven't been awakened for a few months, just a preliminary master. You just need to tell me what you know, what you feel, what you hear, what you feel when you awaken, and so on. Alright. Madara Horsekiller is despised in his heart. Is it so easy to awaken when he sees and smells? It was a coincidence that he only awakened when his life was in danger. He was sure that this guy would definitely not be able to awaken in a year. That was 6 months ago. Madara Horsekiller began to fall into the memory. This memory is a whole afternoon. During this period, Chaos kept asking all kinds of weird questions, such as how much the heartbeat was at the time, how fast the blood flow was, whether he was excited or not. 5 Flowers 8 Gate keeps Madara Horsekiller black because this guy has too many problems and too long-winded. Some insignificant things, even breaking the casserole to ask in the end, almost asking him what color of shit he pulled, what underwear he wore in the past 6 months, and how many pairs he had changed. As night falls, the bonfire is burning. Chaos shot a few prey, just roasted them to feed Madara Horsekiller enough, but not hungry. You baked it so bad. The Madara Horsekiller looked disgusted, and the wound on his face was recovering faster every moment. Chaos ignored it, just sat cross-legged in front of the campfire thinking. Boy, are you going to tie me like this for a year? How about I amputate your limbs? Chaos recovered from his thoughts, with an expression on his face that I am willing to help you. If you want, I can help you. Then I don't need to tie you up. Forget it then. The Madara Horsekiller snorted coldly. This guy is a cruel master, and he has to find other ways to get out. Being tied up for a year like this, I shudder when I think about it. The bonfire crackled and burned, driving away the night and bringing warmth. After the Madara horse-killer shut up, Chaos continued to frown and think. According to the explanation when Pluton Silver Rayleigh taught Luffy, whether it is armed color or seeing and hearing color, all human beings have the potential power, and this power is an innate ability. Exist as instinct. However, most people do not realize this kind of power, or want to exert it but cannot exert it in their entire life. Everyone has this power. What is missing is how to perceive that power and then guide it out. Use it again. Seeing and hearing color is different from armed color. It can be said to be a spiritual extension, amplifying and extending the ability to perceive the external environment. Just like Rayleigh said, the power that can strongly feel the opponent's sound is observation haki. Once this power is increased, the position and number of enemies out of sight can be read, as well as the actions that the opponent will take in the next instant. It also has a lot to do with psychology. It requires calmness to ensure the use. Observation haki cannot be used when emotionally or irrational. As for the function of observation haki, there are a lot more. The most basic perception of attack, prediction of the opponent's next move, perception of the strength of creatures, perception of the position and number of objects outside the field of vision. These are the ability of seeing, hearing, and color. The intensity varies from person to person. These functions are the most basic. On top of this, there are also a few great characters, who are born with or simply develop their knowledge into several fields of ultimate. That's really awesome. For example, Roger's listening to the sound of everything. Everything in the world is alive in his eyes, even flowers, trees, stones and air. The controlling emotions of Princess Otahime of Mermaid Island. Charlotte Kata Curry's foreseeing the future. Lonely Red reads the mind or modifies the memory. Fujitora smiled all weather and could perceive the existence of meteorites in outer space. There is also the heart network combined by Enel through Thunderfruit, but none of them is as clear as the above 5. Either one is 1 in a million. If Conquerors only has 1 in 1 million people, then these 5 major sightings will only appear in a billion. Chaos is very greedy. These 5 abilities of seeing, hearing and color have been greedy for a long time. Even if one of them is awakened, it is equivalent to a little cheat. At present, these are too remote and impractical for Chaos, and even the most basic experience has not been awakened, so I really think a lot. But the toad can't lose its dream. What if it finds a white swan someday? After all, his talent has improved a lot because of his traversal. For half a month, Chaos and Madara Horsekillers stayed in the mountain stream for half a month. Kaios has been thinking about it for the past half month, and he has blindfolded his eyes with gold, and lives in the mountain stream. This kind of training has actually been trained in Chaos, the Island of Goats, and it can be regarded as a familiar road. But this time is obviously different, at least the perception is very different. Within a certain range, Chaos could perceive the existence of animals, but it was very vague, and he would know some road obstacles, etc., and that layer of window paper became thinner and thinner. But it can't be broken. Always feel a little bit so. With the words of Madara Horsekiller inadvertently, Chaos's inspiration flashed. He knew what he was missing. Death threat. Only when a person is on the verge of death will he burst out of his body's potential. So the next step is simple. Chaos gritted his teeth and decided to go to Demon Valley Town to die. He will no longer use the golden fruit ability, unless his life hangs by a thread. In order to awaken the sense of sight, he tried it. Give it a try to turn a bike into a motorcycle, and lose it will kill you. However, there is no such thing as a fate. He will definitely run away for the first time when it comes to such a severe moment. How dignity matters. He wants to become the richest man in the world, and his high profile and luxurious life has not yet begun. How could he die? As long as his life is still alive, he will have to grind out what he has seen and heard. The big deal is to spend a little more time. Hey, is there any mistake? You are planning to put me here like this? On the half wall of the mountain, Chaos got out of a hidden cave during this period of time. Now the Madara Horsekiller is looking at Chaos with anger, with the expression that you are teasing me. You are a zone-capable person. You should be able to last 10.5 days without eating or drinking. I will be back within this period of time. The Madara Horsekiller is still tied with gold, with only one head outside. A closer look will reveal that there is still a pile of gold in the cave. This is what Chaos perceives from the forest in the past half month, and the amount is still quite large. It can only be said to be part of Sky Island. There are many herbs on the other side of the wall. If a doctor is here, they will recognize them. These are herbs that stop bleeding, reduce inflammation, and speed up healing. Chaos is obviously not a doctor, but these herbs are indeed specially prepared by him. Moreover, These herbs were learned from Little Jaw, Little Lion, and Little Tiger. Those three guys often look for these herbs when they are injured, and they know each other when they go to chaos. And in that short period of time, it is often used. He is preparing in advance. Chaos raised his hand with a gentle move, and most of the gold began to squirm into a gold coffin with a thickness of at least 1 meter. It is conceivable how much gold Chaos currently has in the master. Damn bastard, it wasn't enough to tie me up, he even put me in a coffin. Madara's horsekiller's face was green, and this guy was really worried about him. It was crazy. Chaos didn't bother to pay attention to this guy's wailing. The gold chain on his body continued to spread around his head, leaving only the nostrils and mouth, and then entered the gold coffin, and then the gold wriggled the coffin as one, leaving only the size of 2 thumbs. The hole allows the air to circulate, so as not to suffocate this guy to death. In the coffin, the Madara horsekiller was still yelling, but his voice was much lower. Settling down the Madara horsekiller, Chaos looked at the small pile of gold, hesitated or beckoned to form a slap so close to cover his lower body. In case his life is really in danger, this is his guarantee of escape. The rest flew to the coffin and merged into one body to increase the thickness. With all preparations, Chaos stepped on the moonwalk and flew quickly to the town of Enchanted Valley. After half a month, there was no change in Magic Valley town. There are pirates leaving and new pirates landing on the island, still chaotic and prosperous, and bloodshed will occur from time to time. The title of Golden Emperor was still discussed 10 days ago, but it is rare now. After all, there is no shortage of news in Magic Valley town. Today, the millions of pirates were killed. Tomorrow, tens of millions of pirates will land on the island. Who will remember what happened half a month ago? But soon some pirates will remember the Golden Emperor. Boy, you are not dead yet. The room has expired, I want to continue to live and pay. At Tropical Hotel, the smoking boss on the counter was a little surprised when he saw Chaos. Do you not provide information here? The reason why Chaos came here was to see if he could get any news. Those who open restaurants must be well informed. A message, 10 taels of gold. The smoking boss tapped a cigarette. I want the location of the Reaper Thesis, Bloodthorn Pratonite, and Camel Tepieru. Chaos put a fist-sized piece of gold on the counter, as if it were a stone. You are very lucky. Those 3 guys haven't left the town of Magic Valley. Camel Tepieru, you turn left and walk out. There is a tavern, the Reaper and the Bloodthorns. After determining the location of the 3, Chaos turned and walked out of the tavern. Obviously his eyes were blindfolded, but none of the tables, chairs and benches on the road touched him. Just like a blind man who has been blind for more than 30 years, he can detect some obstacles. To be sure, this is not the color of seeing or hearing. It is equivalent to a feeling, but it is the same way as seeing, hearing and color. It only takes a little bit. As long as you pierce that little window paper, the seeing, hearing and color will become watery. This guy disappeared for half a month and thought he was dead. Spike and Tracy didn't know where they came from. Half of them leaned on the counter and looked at Chaos, who disappeared in the doorway. It's very interesting, isn't it? I thought of this way to practice. The smoking boss tapped his cigarette, then turned around and yelled, you 2 bastards, you were actually being lazy during working hours. I went to the corner of the street to find an old fortune teller to do the calculations. He said you would die in 3 days, and then I will be able to inherit your inheritance. Tracy still missed the smoking owner of this restaurant. That old thing has been telling you this 10 years ago. You have believed in it for 10 years, but Lousy is still alive. The smoking boss looked disdainful. Damn, I'm going to find him after get off work to settle accounts. Tracy was furious, and she felt that she had been deceived. But you always went to him in a rage, but in the end it was nothing. Damn it, I must punch him this time. You say that every time. At this time, on the street, Chaos followed the smoking boss's guidance to the corner tavern. Along the way, many pirates greedily looked at the gold that Chaos covered his eyes, but they didn't do anything. Maybe Chaos swaggered through the market like this, which made these pirates more or less undecided. When he walked into the tavern, Chaos looked around and felt all kinds of auras. Camel Tepieru, I'm here to take your dog's life. I was waiting for you at that place half a month ago. If I'm afraid, I won't use it. After talking about Chaos, he left. He really couldn't tell who was Camel Tepieru. The entire tavern was quiet, and almost all the pirates looked in the same direction, the Camel Tepieru who occupied a table alone. That seems to be the Golden Emperor who defeated Madara Horsekiller Barn X half a month ago. It really is. Look at the Camel Tepieru going out with a sullen face. Go and see. Many pirates are a little excited, and there is no show in Zhengzhou. In the end, I didn't expect that the short-lived Golden Emperor appeared half a month ago, and even in front of so many people. It was a man who could not bear the death of Camel Tepiero. What's more, the Camel Tepieru is also a person with a face, but it is a pirate offering a reward of 79 million baileys. Half a month ago, where the Lion King Gappa was killed and the Madara Horsekiller was defeated, the ground was still very messy, and Chaos stepped on the moonwalk to fall from the sky. Turned around and waited in the direction of Magic Valley Town. Chaos didn't wait long, and the Camel Tepiero quickly rushed over. Boy, think you can challenge me by defeating the Madara Horsekiller? That guy can be easily defeated as long as I want. You've got the wrong person. Camel Tepelu grinned and made up his mind to tear this guy apart. Being so provoked in the public, he doesn't want face? Not far away, many pirates are watching the show, and they have already begun to bet. At the same time, Chaos was also remembered by these people again. Call out. Chaos didn't waste any time. He disappeared in place with a shaver, and when he appeared, he swept towards the Camel Tepieru, but the latter easily escaped. But Chaos quickly made his second attack, disappearing in place and appearing on the right side of Camel Tepieru, his right fist clenched and the sound of breaking through the air was violent. Camel Tepieru had a cold face, and when he turned his head to hide, he kicked it out. Chaos noticed the attack with his hands in front of him, and quickly retreated with his strong feet sinking into the ground. Huh. I'm not a Madara Horsekiller. Seeing Chaos's eyes blindfolded with gold, Camel Tepiero thought he was blind. This made him even more angry. This guy dared to take his life as a blind man, deceiving people too much. The whole body was pulled up suddenly, the chest bulged and the hair spread out. The Camel Tepiero's face turned fierce and turned into a semi-beast-shaped camel. The strong aura formed a strong wind to blow the surrounding dust, and disappeared with the ground under his feet. Puff. Chaos could feel the danger, but the Camel Tepieru was a little fast, and he couldn't stop him. He was hit on the face with a punch, and the bridge of his nose felt a tear in the first time, and then he couldn't control his body in the air. Rotating 360 degrees, it kept hitting the ground and leaving a gully. The nosebleeds kept dripping, and Chaos didn't have time to wipe it, so he quickly rushed to the side. The next moment the mud and sand splashed. Camel Tepiero's powerful feet sank into the ground easily like a cannonball, with cracks spreading all around. The camel's face was full of sorrow. Chaos got up from the ground, took a deep breath and faced Camel Tepieru. He could detect that the opponent was in this direction, about 10 meters away. The bridge of the nose seems to be broken and it hurts. Do you only have this skill? Didn't you bet that I would be killed by the Madara Horsekiller half a month ago? I bet you can't kill me now. Chaos already knew from the Madara Horsekiller why he wanted to shoot himself. Dare to be a bet made by these three guys. He died, so it was decided. Fortunately, Chaos is a little capable, otherwise he doesn't even have the right to choose how to die. I hope you will say that later. Camel Tepieru's eyes were cold, and he appeared in front of Chaos with just 2 breaths. His right hand hoof was strong and powerful, and he had no doubt that he could kick the rock to pieces. Chaos also made a fist with his right hand, and followed the feeling that he blasted out in one fell swoop. The huge wind and waves swept around the two people, and the mud and dust splashed into cracks. Snort. Chaos snorted, his face full of pain. The whole body bent down to the right and saw the Camel Tepieru's right foot sturdy and slammed on it. Accompanied by uncontrollable power, Chaos vomited blood from his mouth, and smashed on the ground, constantly rolling and smashing a lot of rubble. Danger came from the head, and Chaos was once again embarrassed. Camel Tepiero emerged from the dust and quickly kicked Chaos in the abdomen. Chaos stopped in front of him with both hands at the very close of the shot, and with the tremendous power, the rubber ball of the whole person continued to roll. His face was pale and distorted. Boom boom boom. The ground kept roaring, and the Camel Tepieru's moves were fierce and fast, which did not give Chaos a chance to breathe. With a right uppercut hitting his face, Chaos leaned his head with blood, teeth and blood spurting out, and the whole body flew out in a spiral posture, crashing into pieces of rock and humming painfully. Die. Camel Tepiero is like getting a beloved toy, falling from the sky with the sound of breaking through the sky. Chaos resisted the groaning from his body, and drew back somersaults with his hands on the ground, but Camel Tepiero swept out with 1 foot behind him, and came back spin kicks one after another. With the dull impact, Chaos flew out and rolled to the ground, then quickly got up and stopped in front of him with his hands. At this time, Camel Tepieru appeared and kicked out. The strong wind pressure made the surrounding ground torn apart, and Chaos had no backhand strength at all. This is a unilateral beating. Aren't you using power yet? Camel Tepiero has been vigilant, but this guy doesn't know what's going on, and would rather be injured than use the devil fruit ability. Many pirates watching the theater in the distance were also talking about it. Ahem. Chaos lay on the ground in embarrassment, his deformed face constantly vomiting blood, looking very miserable. To kill you, you don't need to use abilities. Shaking up, Chaos stretched out his finger and hooked it. This arrogant and provocative posture made Camel Tepiero look cold and murderous. He wants to tear this guy to pieces alive. The ground under his feet exploded, a large amount of mud and rubble splashed, and the Camel Tepiero appeared in front of Chaos with the sound of breaking through the air. His right foot carried terror force forward. Chaos's rapid breathing suddenly became stable, time seemed to be slow, and at the same time an inexplicable reflection appeared in his mind. That was the direction of Camel Tepiero's attack. However, Chaos still didn't escape. As the sound of bone cracks flew from his body, he vomited blood violently in a mess of ruins. Ha ha. The whole body is aching up and down, even breathing is painful. But Keys laughed excitedly. There can be no wrong feeling just now. That is a sign of awakening from seeing and hearing. Dare to be so arrogant when you die. Camel Tepiero's lungs were blown up, and Chaos's wild laugh was a kind of contempt for him. Because of the vigilance of the strength reserved by the opponent's ability, it is no longer hidden. As the Camel Tepiero attacked, a picture reappeared in Chaos' mind, and he could see the orbit of the Camel Tepiero's attack. Lie on the ground without an image, the ground behind Chaos was swept by the wind, and the soil was stripped out layer by layer, but he managed to escape Camel Tepiero's sweeping army. But Camel Tepiero quickly fought back again, and this time Chaos did not evade. Just awakening, seeing and hearing. The color is not good at times, and if you want to fully awaken or master, you have to continue fighting. Only fighting will accelerate the awakening of seeing and hearing in the master. Call out. Bang bang. The battle continued. At first, Chaos, who was like a sandbag, can now predict the Camel Tepiero's attack and respond quickly to avoid it. However, the success rate is still somewhat low, and it may work once in 5 times. I have to say that Chaos's current resistance ability is stronger than imagined. After all, in the past 3 years or so, in order to cultivate armed color and iron body, it is not uncommon for the little jaws, little tigers, and little lions to be beaten up next to each other to increase their defensive power. It can also be said that the skin is thick and thick. But now this is no way to go on like this, so who can handle it? The opponent is not a little girl, but the zone ability person also offers a reward of 79 million, if ordinary people would have been kicked to death. No way. Can't hold it anymore. You wait for me, I will come back. A mouthful of blood spurted out of his mouth, and Chaos flew out and manipulated the gold to fly himself into the sky, leaving a ruthless word and quickly flew away. Although it is ruthless, no matter how you listen to it, you are extremely excited and joyful. Camel Tepiero stood on the ground, keeping a half-beast face in embarrassment, with a trace of astonishment. However, more was still anger. He didn't kill the guy and let the other party escape. If he could fly, he would never let that guy escape. Now the effect of chasing it out is not great. After weighing it for a moment, Camel Tepiero returned to normal and gave up. Back in the mountain stream, Chaos crashed to the ground, bloody and terrible. Although it was severely injured, it still didn't make him lose the power to move. Although his face was pale and bruised, Chaos's spirit was so excited that the pain was relieved a lot. Today's fight was not in vain. The figure flew into the mysterious cave in the air, ignoring the howling of the Madara horsekiller. Chaos grabbed the herbs that had been prepared, and went to the river to grit his teeth and clean his body. He immediately threw the herbal medicine into his mouth and chewed, and manipulated the gold to stick it on the wound like a plaster. The skillful movements made people feel distressed. With this skill, Chaos has to thank the 3 guys in Goat Island. Although the treatment is primitive and rude, the effect is not worse than those special medicines invented by humans. Correct the bridge of the nose and stick a piece of gold against his teeth and mouth, just hoping that it won't affect his handsome face. It would be nice if I could return my life. After dealing with the injury very hard, Chaos lay on a rock and Jonin couldn't help sighing. If there is a life to return, now only need to eat a big meal, to ensure that the next day is alive and kicking. The role of life return is not only to speed up recovery, but also to improve attack power, speed, and defense power in all directions. Marine hero Garp now, including in the future, can cross the sea, except for hockey, relying on the 6 styles in life return, he is a complete physique expert. At this time in Magic Valley Town, the reputation of chaos spread in a small area, but it did not cause any major disturbances. After all, chaos didn't offer a reward now, and he didn't even know if it was a pirate. If a reward of more than 100 million Baileys is offered, it will definitely stir up the entire Demon Valley Town. For example, several hundreds of millions of pirates in Demon Valley Town were recognized when they were walking on the street, which caused a lot of sensation and fear. No pirate dared to provoke, only pirates of the same level had that qualification and strength. This is the difference. The current hundreds of millions of rewards can be regarded as a watershed. But at this moment, who is the most embarrassed? It must be Camel Tepiero. Reaper Thesis and Bloodthorn Pratinate also received the news, and did not care too much. They were confident of their own strength. If the Golden Emperor finds trouble for them, just solve it easily. In addition, Madara Horseslayer, Camel Tepieru, and Thesis the Reaper are actually Lone Ranger pirates. Only Bloodthorn Pratinate, the captain of the Bloodthorn Pirates group, has a subordinate of number 60 or 70 under his hand. It's fairly well known in Grand Line. However, the current situation is not very good. The reason why he came to Magic Valley is to avoid the pursuit of Rear Admiral, a Marine from Marine. 2 days passed in the blink of an eye since sunset. Demon Valley Town is still a paradise for pirates. The gambling halls, red light districts, and taverns above are full both day and night. But bloodshed can happen at any time. Speaking of which, Chaos hasn't really visited Demon Valley Town yet, but he has been here for more than half a month. Recovered faster than expected. Deep in the forest, in the mountain stream, Chaos stretched his waist and has recovered. His physique is still very strong, and the herbs are even more powerful. Under the shining of the golden sunlight, the 2 mini gold knives worn on both ears are very eye-catching, which makes Chaos' temperament inexplicably more arrogant, cold and arrogant. This is not an ornament, but a killer weapon at a critical moment. In addition, the 10 fingers of both hands are also wearing gold rings, and there are various patterns on them. The overall look is even more arrogant. If there is another big gold chain hanging around his neck, then the temperament will be another matter for a while. With the mini knife earrings and gold ring, Chaos didn't plan to bring other gold. He probably estimated that this time he would have to be beaten severely. But in order to thoroughly see and hear the color of the master, let alone 1 meal, he can handle even 2 meals. This is all for life. Chaos's will is still very tough. Next to him, the Madara Horsekiller was tied up in a chain and stood in the golden coffin with a black face. He really wanted this guy to die suddenly. The 3 fools of Camel Tepiero, Reaper, and Bloodthorn did not kill him. Next, Chaos hunted a few prey for lunch. In the protest of the Madara Horsekiller, he returned the golden coffin and prepared some herbs in advance and flew to the town of Magic Valley on the moonwalk. Hey, that's the Golden Emperor. It really is. I was hit hard by Camel Tepiero 2 days ago. I thought I was dead. The direction he is going is. The appearance of Chaos attracted the attention of some pirates. When Chaos entered the tavern on the corner for 5 seconds, a figure smashed the wall and shot out. It turned out to be the Camel Tepieru. Chaos came out of the tavern, hooked his finger at the Camel Tepieru and flew towards the town. I am going to kill you. The Camel Tepieru roared. His body swelled rapidly to maintain a semi-animal shape, and chased him out on the ground like a sharp sword. He has only one thought now, that he must kill this guy. By the time some of the theater pirates arrived, Chaos was already fighting Camel Tepieru. This time, Chaos didn't cast gold in his eyes, but he chose to close the battle with Camel Tepieru. Bang bang. The strong wind and waves swept, flying sand and rocks all around. Chaos closed his eyes and fisted against Camel Tepieru one after another, but the Camel Tepieru noticed the problem as soon as he fought against him. This guy was not blind, so he covered his eyes with gold last time, and closed his eyes again this time, and his attacks would be resisted from time to time. Camel Tepieru's anger rose like a rocket, and he was not an idiot. You were actually using me as a sharpening stone. The stout right foot swept across the army, and Camel Tepieru's eyes were bloodshot and he was going crazy. He has never been insulted like this. Chaos raised his knee to block the whip leg, and moved 1 foot deep into the ground, without saying a word but beckoning to the Camel Tepieru. The demeanor is extremely arrogant. I want to tear you up alive. The powerful momentum spread from Camel Tepieru, and the ground under her feet burst. Camel Tepieru slammed in front of Chaos, and his right hoof shot out like lightning. Chaos dodged sideways at a critical moment. But Camel Tepieru reacted quickly, turning his body with his left foot deep into the ground, and his right foot swept towards Chaos' head with a cracking sound. Chaos stopped in front of him with his hands, with a trace of pain on his face. The whole person flew out before landing. Camel Tepero's eyes were blood red but rushed behind him first, and another blow was a blow to the whip leg. Puff. Blood spurted out of Chaos' mouth, smashed into a hill, spreading dense cracks, and quickly left without waiting for a breath. The next moment the Camel Tepero's long feet penetrated into the rock wall, watching Chaos turn around. A hoof. Chaos stopped in front of him with his hands, and the huge force made his whole body sink into the mud. Many rubbles all around flew out with the sound of breaking through the air, and the entire hill collapsed and burst. Billowing dust obscured the line of sight, and many pirates in the distance were holding their binoculars, watching them with relish. Judging from the current situation, the Golden Emperor is completely at a disadvantage and can only defend passively. I haven't attacked actively until now, it seems that I have been avoiding and avoiding. Pieces of ground were torn and cocked, and after Chaos left a gully of more than 30 meters, his entire chest was stained red with blood at the end of his lying. He quickly turned over and revolved in the air with his right hand supporting the ground. After steadying his body, he folded his hands in front of him. The next second Camel Tepiero kicked his right foot, and Chaos kept moving back and unloading his force. Camel Tepero's offensive was very fierce and did not give Chaos any time to breathe. But this is exactly the pressure that Chaos needs. 10 minutes later. After half an hour. After an hour. The success rate of Chaos's evasion is getting higher and higher, more and more natural, and more casual. Something's wrong. How'd I feel that Golden Emperor is getting more and more relaxed, but Camel Tepiero is getting more and more difficult? You can see it too. It's been an hour. Camel Tepiero hasn't won the Golden Emperor. He clearly has the upper hand. Why can't he defeat the Golden Emperor? The Emperor's evasion ability seems to be getting better and better. I can't understand it at all. Many pirates feel more and more weird, and it is true that Camel Tepiero has the upper hand in the battle until now. Didn't you see that the Golden Emperor has been passively defending and avoiding? But it's been an hour, and it's evasive, and it gets more and more evasive. No matter how you look at it, it seems to be playing with Camel Tepiero. Half an hour passed again. Boom boom boom. The sand and dust on the venue are everywhere, and waves of wind and waves are constantly rolling up. The momentum is huge and impactful. You are too weak. Chaos completely found the feeling. I don't know when he has opened his eyes. His arms are on his shoulders and he dodges from the left and the right very elegantly, and his embarrassed face is full of arrogance. Slanting his eyes and scorning Camel Tepiero, he is obviously more embarrassed than the opponent, but now there are 3 points of arrogance in this posture, 3 points of disdain, 3 points of arrogance, and 1 point of no one. The sound of breaking through the air came. Chaos just slightly tilted his head, the Camel Tepiero brushed his right hoof and shook his hair on the first floor, and Chaos hit his chest with a knee close to his chest, following the huge dull sound of the camel. Tepiero vomited blood in his mouth, flew out and hit the ground constantly rolling, and was covered by dust in the blink of an eye. What I want is this feeling. Chaos shook his hand. Everything around him had never been so clear and bright. He could feel the breathing and heartbeat of the pirates in the distance. Now it's not about time and time, but now it can be retracted freely. The most important step of seeing, hearing and coloring has been taken. In the future, you only need to strengthen training in this direction, and you will naturally become stronger. Damn it. The strong wind blows away the dust, and the Camel Tepiero roars fiercely like a ghost. Especially when facing the faintly contemptuous eyes of Chaos, the anger grew more and more like pouring oil. The eyes have turned red, and the body of the Camel Tepiero expanded again, and finally turned into a huge camel into total animalization. If a sharp arrow flew out, the strong wind tore the earth's surface forward. Chaos took a step forward, clenched his right hand and raised his fist high, and the other party could no longer put pressure on him. It's just a waste of time to continue. Boom. The big fist of the sandbag collided with the camel's head, and Chaos' feet were sunken in the ground and pushed back and forced to stand firmly after leaving a ravine of more than 10 meters. 79 million, not very powerful. Chaos fluttered with his hair upright, leaning on his side, proudly standing upright with one hand against the Camel Tepiero, his face full of disappointment. Impossible. Your strength can't be so strong. Camel Tepiero roared like crazy. Obviously he crushed the opponent before. How could he be the crushed party in a blink of an eye? His self-esteem and pride are beginning to shatter. Chaos allowed the Camel Tepiero to keep backing up. His face was full of sneers. It's just for you to practice seeing and hearing. You don't think I'm really that weak, do you? What? Camel Tepiero yelled up to the sky, his huge body like a locomotive crashing over, and since his debut, no one has dared to humiliate him so much. With his right hand vertical, Chaos walked proudly towards the Camel Tepiero. The flying mini-knife earrings and the gold rings in his hands all flowed together, and with the sound of sparks and golden iron horses, they turned into a thin and slender gold. The rapier was automatically held by Chaos. The earth was tumbling and shaking. Just when one camel collided with one person, Chaos gently took a step to the left, flipped his golden rapier and just thrust it in, and the two passed by. Flap. The pungent and bloody smell spread to the audience. The Camel Tepiero who had collided with him slowly stopped, and a gap was torn out in vain on the half of his body, and various internal organs and blood gushed out after abruptly enlarged. No. Impossible. Camel Tepiero crashed to the ground, his hideous face was full of fear, and he couldn't believe that he was defeated like this. Ming crushed the opponent before. Why? The violent blood-colored bull's eye gradually lost its luster, and the Camel Tepiero recovered the human body, being torn all the way up from the waist, almost split in half. This kind of fatal injury, unless the Camel Tepiero develops this fruit to awakening, otherwise it will not be able to bear it. Chaos turned his head and didn't even look at it. He flicked the blood on the rapier, and it quickly turned into earrings and rings to return to the right position. Looking at the town of Magic Valley, Chaos soars into the sky, he needs a bath. Then he had a big meal to completely stabilize what he saw and heard, and then went to fight. Seeing and hearing the color has initially awakened, and the next is the armed color in the other 6 types. Camel Tepiero was killed. It was too sudden. How could it be killed in a blink of an eye? That's a pirate offering 79 million rewards, our demon fruit power. One afternoon, just one afternoon, a small half of the town of Magic Valley spread. Camel Tepiero was killed. The fame of Golden Emperor Gaia Kaios began to spread, using the Lion King, Madara Horsekiller, and Camel Tepiero as the stepping stones, and he became extremely high profile as soon as he appeared on the stage. The rewards are all over 50 million, and they are all demon fruit power. Putting it in the future is equivalent to killing the pirate who offered hundreds of millions of rewards at the start. The starting point is a bit high and a bit arrogant, and it has directly passed that million reward price.